Snowy Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. It's great news for me because it made the drive-in much more pleasant than if there had been a 2-hour delay. I am permanently opposed to 2-hour delays. Bad news for your boy getting into work. But, I'm looking outside. It's a little bit of snow. Like, up by me, it's a little bit more, but it's not.
There's a good bit up by me. So.
Nah, it's the same thing. It's probably worse at my house.
You think so?
Yeah,
I mean, when I left, there was probably like 3 inches. Like,
yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, that's not a lot
bad.
of snow.
That's bad for
No,
here.
it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
I mean, it's not 2010.
Anything below 4 inches is not really significant. Like
I wish that were true, but
no, we're just a lost society that just gives up.
We're a lost society with this much.
Like we just give up. That's what the answer is. Just give up. It's a little bit of snow. There's nothing we can do about it. Everyone is capable of it. Every single person is capable of handling this, but we just don't try. We just say there's a small amount of snow.
Every single
we're
person.
Out. It's bad, man. It's bad. What's wrong with this country? We are really hopeless. Like I get it. There's like 5 inches of snow on the ground, 6 inches of snow on the ground. All right, plenty of us are still capable, but I get it. I understand. This is flurries. This is nothing. We just give up. There is precipitation out of the sky. Okay. Well, we can't do anything today.
I think it was much worse in the northern counties.
So the place where it's the worst is where I live, the Hereford zone, right?
Okay.
Like that's where it's the worst, and I'm telling you, there is no problem there. Like there's actual snow. It's not, like there's no patches. Like I look to my left and I see a patch where there's not even snow on the ground. There's actual snow, but the roads are fine.
Unless they just gave up in northern Carroll County.
It's not icy. That's the big deal. The problem is when it's icy. When it's icy, you've got a real issue. Then don't do anything. Don't go to school. Don't do that. Then there's ice. You got a real problem on your hands. This ain't that. This is some snow. You send people out with plows. You push it aside. You're good. It's not coming down at a rate that like, oh, God, well, if we miss it. No, you're fine. Everything's fine. You can say that I'm an old man now about this thing. And again, I've said this before. If you're not capable of it, if you're the type of person that the sight of snow makes you panic, then you should stay off the road. Stay off the road. There are some things that people just aren't capable of. Some people pass out at like the sight of blood. I can't do anything about that. Like, it shouldn't be that way, but some people just do. So, like, don't work a job that would require you to be around blood. Doesn't seem all that hard. Don't do something that will put yourself in those positions. And if you're the type of person that just the sight of snow sets on a panic attack, this isn't me making fun of you. This is me saying I acknowledge that those people exist. Don't go out today. Prepare for that. Talk to somebody in your life that doesn't have a panic attack at the sight of snow. Line things up. Address the problem head on. Be a problem solver. For the rest of us, this is weird. Like, this is a weird one. It's a real weird bit. I'm like, it's just some snow. Like, this is just a rainstorm, more or less. That's all this is. I hate driving in the rain. Driving in the rain sucks. But we learn how to do it. Like,
not everyone.
We're not enough so that they don't close the schools when it rains. Nobody says, well, we have to shut down the state immediately. That's what this is. It's some rain. It's unpleasant. I would rather it not be. I would like every day. I would like to live in San Diego.
I was going to say you should move to upstate New York, so that way you can be with people that do know how to drive in.
Right, but that's where you're getting 6 feet of snow. I don't want that. Nobody's rooting for that. I'm rooting for us to be adults.
I don't know what you want.
For us to be adults. Accountability. It's a hell of a thought. Yeah. It's unbelievable. We're not
You're asking for
entirely
for the world,
too much.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm asking for adults to act like adults. It's impossible. I'm giving up. Well, what did we try? Nothing. We have already out of ideas. That's who we are as people, man. This is what we do. A little bit of snow. Sorry. And for some people, and you know who you are, it's just an excuse to be a child. You know who you are. We did an event a few Mondays ago, and all throughout the day, there was like a small amount of snow, and I kept hearing from people, did you guys cancel the event? No. Because you wanted us to. Because you wanted to be off the hook. You wanted to say, well, I tried. It's just too much. No one had a problem. It's very easy for everybody to get out for our event. Couldn't have been easier. But you guys are children, and you want an excuse. You want it, or you want an excuse to drink. And when you see that there's snow in the forecast the next day, you want there to be no work, no school, no responsibilities because you want to be Travis Kelce. You want to fight for your right to party. That's what you want. I want because you want to be a child. And I'm not saying that makes you inherently evil because there's plenty of you that are like that. It's not just you. There's lots of you that are like that. The last time I had this conversation, Rita looked at me and she was like, you're talking about me, aren't you? And I was like, well, I guess. You just went ahead and outed yourself. We all got things to do. We got to make this ecosystem function. And he's being the one that says, I feel like tapping out today. I'm good. I don't really feel like doing it. So I'm using the snow as an excuse. It breathes life into this problem. Now there's somebody else who says, well, if that guy's doing it, then I can do it too. And then we all end up being incapable of living when it snows. We're just function is beyond us. Mrs. Clark can't function in normal situations, and she's capable of handling the snow. That should be a lesson to the rest of you. It's just some snow. It's not even bad. It's really not even bad in the places where it's bad. It's not. I'm telling you, that's where I am. I live there, and it looks wildly different than it looks anywhere else. Growing up, I always lost my mind whenever I was a kid. And they would, because we had to get the school closings on the radio.
Jeez.
Yeah, what a world. Yeah, there was no text. There was no nothing. We had to turn on Dave Durian in the morning show on WBAL and pretend like we gave a rat's ass about the stock market. And they go through the
So would he read it like, what, every 15 minutes or like?
Yeah, something like that. And then they pull in like whoever was doing the news desk that day. They'd be like, all right, come on in here. And I wish John Patty, whoever it was. And they do it together. And it was like, it was kind of beautiful. It was part of the zeitgeist. Anne Arundel schools closed. Baltimore City schools 2 hours late. Baltimore County schools closed. And I'd like, yes! And then they'd say this, Hereford zone only. Like, what? The rest of the county, 2 hours late.
So this is why you moved.
What?
This is why you moved to the Hereford.
So my
this
wife,
is
yeah, I'll pull the curtain back. Mrs. Clark decided that she wanted to live in this part of the county. And at the point where that decision was made, she and I were in a rocky patch in our relationship.
Okay.
This is going back quite a ways. I mean, like, this is going back well over a decade. Probably 15 years at this point, something like that. And she decided this is where she wanted to be in her life. And we were trying to repair things in our relationship, and she dropped the bomb on me. She was like, by the way, if this does work out between the two of us, funny thing, I've decided where I want to be. And I was like, oh, you have? And she said, I'm going to live in Moncton. Now, again, at the time in my life, Moncton could have been anywhere. You might as well tell us we're moving out to Frederick.
From Frederick.
Frederick's fine.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a hell of a commute.
I mean, yeah, okay.
I didn't know anything about Moncton. Who knows anything about Moncton? You look it up, the first thing you find is a place in Canada. I'm like, am I moving to Canada? Is that what's going on here? So I drive out, and I'm like, all right, it's not that bad. It's the first time. I'm like, yeah, I could live here. Because I didn't know. I had no idea that Moncton was in the throes of the Hereford zone. And the first time it snowed, I said, oh, I get it. I understand now.
You finally understand why this was
why
a special,
this part of the
special
county
group.
Yeah, could not function when the rest of the county was functioning. But I think they've given that up. I think they're now making Baltimore County decisions based on what's going on in Moncton, which seems silly because today, it's here in Towson, it ain't that bad. And really, in Moncton, it ain't that bad either. It's worse than this, but it ain't that bad. we could go to school.
That's when all the Southern County kids are appreciative of.
And for the record, the kids should be going to school. My kids, the moment they've got a snow day, game over.
Well, yeah, I mean,
God.
It's the best.
Jumping on
snow days are the best.
Sucks. No, they're not. You're a child.
I mean,
that's what's.
So
you're a child. God. Hi, good morning. It's Glenn Clark Radio. I had to get that off my chest. If it's really snowing, I get it. I understand. This is not. It's better than talking. What the hell are we going to talk about? You know what they're trying to do on the national shows? They're trying to force something about Patrick Mahomes already being the GOAT.
I mean,
no.
It's been pretty good.
No, this is what happens when you're bored. When there's
the good news is he's already 28.
When there's no Lamar Jackson contract conversation to have, and you realize
Thank God.
You don't know what you're pivoting to. That's really what's going on. They're not going to talk about baseball on those shows. They don't know. They have no idea. You think Stephen A. Smith knows who Corbin Burns is?
Yeah. Well,
no. He's heard the name.
If he walked into the studio, would he?
Stop. You think that I don't even know who the other.
You think it's Max Kellerman or something?
Yeah, whoever. Max. You think Max Keller was he on one of those shows?
He used to be.
I know he used
to be.
I don't know what happened to Max.
I don't know
Kellerman.
where Max is now.
I don't know where he is. You think Joy Taylor has any knowledge of Bobby Witt Jr.?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
She's heard the name.
She's a hard worker.
That's the list. I'm not trying to knock Joy Taylor. They just don't talk about baseball. It's not their concern. They don't have something to pivot to. There's no big. What would the big NBA talking point right now?
Did Jalen Brunson foul Aaron Holiday?
It would require you. And by the way, because it's the Knicks, they might they might dedicate an hour to that because it's the New York market and they think that's the only market that exists. But nobody actually cares outside of New York. No one outside of New York gives a rat's ass about that unless you bet on it. And that might be why Griffin was bringing it up. I don't know.
I didn't bet on it.
Okay.
I bet on stupid Kansas.
Ooh, they got hammered.
I teased Towson and Kansas.
Towson covered.
Because Kansas was getting points, and I was like, 3.5 isn't quite enough. But Kansas never gets blown out. They proceeded.
They got
throttled.
Hammered. I mean,
it was never a game.
It was rock, chalk, and
Nick Timberlake had a good game.
Good for him. They scored like 50 points, didn't they? How can anybody have that good of a game?
Well, Nick Timberlake did.
Fine, but it wasn't good enough.
Probably wishes he was still in Towson.
Yeah, they were winners by a lot. They needed that. We'll talk about it with Patrick Stevens in a minute. Matt Swope's going to join us this morning, Maryland baseball coach. Their season gets underway this weekend. Yes, baseball starts this week at the college level. So we'll preview the Terps with Matt Swope, County Sports Zone Radio with Wes Brown, all that coming up today. Speaking of County Sports Zone, today's show is brought to you by Toyota. Do you think you know high school basketball? Go to countysportszone.com where you can pick the winners and earn points to see where you stand on the leaderboard. Only at countysportszone.com, presented by your local Toyota dealers. Yeah, there's really just not a whole lot. This is they've got to be panicked.
Do you want to try to figure out where Max Kellerman is? His last tweet.
I don't care that much about Max Kellerman.
Apparently he left ESPN or they parted ways or whatever in June of 2023. And that was his last tweet.
He's just gone off the grid?
I guess,
because
he hasn't tweeted
in Montana on a ranch or something?
Since the end of he tweeted once at the end of July about the Crawford-Spence fight.
Okay. He was always a boxing guy first. That was always
that was the last thing
there
he
was
tweeted.
A time where I thought Max Kellerman, I don't watch any of these shows, so I couldn't tell you what he's been doing for a long time. But years ago, I liked him on something that he was on something on Fox Sports before.
Oh yeah, was he with Shannon?
No. You're thinking of I'm thinking of before you were.
Oh, okay.
You will not remember this. It might have been before you were born. I mean, it was around the time you were born. He was on a show because they tried to force him into one of these shows that was unwatchable. Back when Fox Sports was only distributed through other regional networks. And you could only watch Fox Sports content on, like, Comcast Sportsnet locally. There was no Fox Sports 1. He was on a show that was good that was about his sort of encyclopedic knowledge of sports. And that was a good, entertaining show, but I can't remember what it was. Then they forced him into takes. They forced him into I remember, and then it was all down, this Newfound Glory.
2004 IMAX.
Yeah, I feel like that was the first take show that they forced him onto. I feel like there might have been one before that he was a part of before 2004. That was actually a good show that I liked, and I can't think of what it was called.
It says he was one of the architects of the original Around the Horn.
Yeah, but that would have been.
That was 04.
Yeah, that would have been around the same time. He was not like the star of this show. Whatever I'm thinking of, he was like a panelist or just a part of it. It's gonna drive me crazy.
King of Vegas. No, this was after.
Yeah. Whatever, it's not worth it. I don't care that much. Neither does anyone else.
He was in Creed, right? I think he was in Creed.
I believe he was.
Yeah.
I believe you're right about that. I don't know why we are pretending. This is what, by the way, in fairness, this is what's going on.
Where's Max Kellerman?
This might be what they do in the first hour of Stop My Take or whatever the hell.
Stop My Take.
I'm sorry. I don't know what these shows are. I don't watch them. But I saw on Twitter yesterday they were doing the "Is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT" bit. I'm like, how do you get any more than 5 seconds out of this conversation? Is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT? Not yet.
Could be.
Okay, now what do we talk about?
Well,
there's
what's he gotta do?
Nothing else to say about it. It's the end of the conversation. There's no like follow up. Well, he's had a hell of a start, right? Okay, that's it. Like there's nowhere else to go. I said the only compelling conversation that came out of the Super Bowl was the overtime thing. And the analytics folks continue to tell you that it is not strong one way or the other. It's just not. And I do think that's fascinating. And I think it'll be fascinating because, and as I said, the real conversation that we should be having is why the NFL is afraid to not just adapt that moving forward for football. And the answer back will be, well, it's unfair for a team to maybe play 5 quarters and have to turn around and play on Thursday night. Well, then win the game in regulation, Chief. Or maybe we talk about Thursday night football. I don't know what you want to do about this. Like,
I mean,
the idea that you manufacture fake football, like the results are fake because you're worried about the next game. Stop. Play a football game. What you got on Sunday was a football game. It wasn't gimmicked. It wasn't a football game for 60 minutes and then something else. Now, somebody will tell me, well, don't you like the over or the extra inning thing in baseball? I do. You know why? Because both teams get a chance. So if they felt the need to make it like the college rules during the regular season, I'd still prefer that to what they do. Nothing is acceptable for determining a game where both teams don't see the ball. And spare me defense is part of the game too. Not the way the NFL has drawn up the rules, and you know that. You know that. Like, you're not this obtuse. You're just saying things for the sake of being a contrarian. It's like the people with the stupid end zone fumble rule are like, military and defense. Like, you're just saying anything at all. Just screaming loudly for the sake of being an a-hole. There's no defending the NFL's regular season overtime rules. No game should end without both teams seeing the ball. And if you're worried about, well, you don't want teams playing 5 quarters, and by the way, it could have been 5+ quarters. Like, if both teams had scored touchdowns, then it would have been 6 quarters. If you're worried about that, then do the college thing. I don't like that because it takes out part of the game. It's not as good, but it's not dissimilar to the Major League Baseball's solution. If you say we just don't want these games to go on for forever, fine. But both teams see the ball. Like, both teams need to see the ball. The kickers are too good in the NFL, so you'd have to start the ball at like the 50-yard line. You couldn't start.
Well, I was thinking, like, when it started, like, what if both teams just start at the -25 and they each start at the they just both get a chance to start at the -25 and do whatever.
It's probably not going to shorten the games any. Like, it's probably going to be the exact same.
Well, I mean, yeah, it would be what happened Sunday night.
Right,
like,
that's what I'm saying. So why take out the kickoffs just for funsies?
Because they're taking out kickoffs anyway.
You've got to do something in order to try to shorten it so that the games don't go an extra 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. I understand them not wanting. It's a very violent physical game, and these teams might have to turn around and play 4 days later. I would say this is going to happen so rarely that I wouldn't be making rules based on that fear. I would just go ahead and do the best thing in order to try to determine a game. That's what I would do. But if they feel that if what's holding it up from doing it right is the length of the game, then do the college thing. You got to do it from the 50 because basically every team can make a kick from the 40 at this point. Do it from the 50. At least require them to get a first down in order to score. But it's kind of nuts that we wouldn't just say, hey, look, a couple times a year, a team – and by the way, what is the likelihood – somebody that's smarter than I can figure out the math of what's the likelihood of a team that plays an overtime game just happens to be the team that's turning around and playing on the road on Thursday night or whatever it is. It's not impossible, and it definitely is going to be unpleasant, but I'm not making the rules. You saw the way it should be. Both teams should see the ball in overtime. That's the best way to determine a game, and every regular season game should be that way. Today's show is brought to you by, this one's brought to you by Goose Flights. You, of course, know how much we love Goose Flights. Trying to lift up the legacy of the great Tony Siragusa. We partner with his family. Goose Flights Lager is delicious. It's available in cans at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton, as well as the Glory Days Grill locations throughout the state of Maryland, and also available in cans at Alonzo's on Cold Spring Lane. Cans and six-packs available at Guilford Hall Brewery and Station North, Acosta Inn and Dundalk. Six-packs and cases at the Wine Source in Hamden. $1.98 from every can sold goes to benefit the Goose Flights Foundation, the work they're doing to provide non-emergency medical transport for those in need. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/gooseflights. Baseball season is upon us. Just hard to believe as we look out and stare at the snow today. But it is officially upon us, and it starts at the collegiate level. Joining us now, a friend of ours, a former radio man himself here in Baltimore. He is the first-year head coach at the University of Maryland, our friend, Coach Matt Swope, back with us here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, you're like, are you practicing in the snow today?
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be up to 49, shockingly enough. I mean, we look out at snow right now, but by 3 o'clock, I'm looking at 49, and we're good to go. We're actually going to inter squad today.
What is it like? Like, how do you – I just never had this conversation. When you plan your schedule at the beginning of the year, when are you willing to, like, play a game in the north? Like, how important is it to you to make sure that you go down and play in Georgia to start the season so you don't have to deal with this type of stuff? What does that look like?
Well, the turf has really helped out. So these days you're not – I mean, it could snow 3 inches and they can plow it and we can practice later on.
Wow.
So that's the good part about kind of these new turf fields in the Northeast. But, yeah, I mean, we actually schedule sometimes 2 and 3 years out on the weekends to try to plan just for what you just said. So we'll always try to go into like a little bit of a warmer spot for the first 2 or 3 weeks. But this year, actually, we do play at home versus Bryant week 3. So those weekends are kind of dicey. You can have it where the last 2 weeks we've had some great days in the 50s, or you could have it be where it's really cold. So it's kind of dicey here early in the season.
All right, Coach. What's something that, you've been at Maryland. You are, obviously, when I think Maryland baseball, I think Matt Swope. So this isn't like some sea change. But what's something about the job that you've already learned just in the months that you've held the title of head coach? What's something that maybe has been different or you didn't realize or anything along those lines?
I mean, crazy enough, I've talked about this probably several times in the past month, but it feels the same.
Yeah,
So,
I believe it.
I mean, honestly, thank God for John Sheff when I first came back here, just tasked me with being able to do some of the budget, the scheduling, maybe a lot of things that I was able to learn to be a head coach, right when I came back in, and then that kind of transition with Rob as well. So I think some things will probably in the game setting, right? The first time I write my first lineup, or maybe my first home plate meeting with the umpires, maybe some things like that, that'll in the moment be a little bit surreal and different. But from the most part, I tell people it feels the same, which is, I think, a good thing, just because we're just looking for that sustainable success and kind of continue the culture and the good vibes about Maryland baseball.
Do you have enough pitching? I know that's the $1 million question, right? Like,
yeah.
Do you have enough pitching going into the season?
Well, I just say it definitely seems we're a little deeper. I don't know if we have the front end stuff. We had four pitchers actually get drafted last year as well. So you're looking at that and you're saying, it's been a little bit of an Achilles heel at times, but we've had talent. So I think this year we're a little bit deeper as far as that goes, which is always a good thing. But when you have 25 new players on a roster,
Yeah.
you're kind of looking early on, who's going to establish roles, who's going to take advantage of opportunities on the pitching staff and on the hitting side. So I think that's what I look forward to most, is kind of seeing how this team kind of takes shape.
I was wondering if you could tell, do you have a sense of what the weekend rotation looks like yet?
Yeah, right now, probably this weekend we may go something like Kenny Littman on Friday for us. He led the team in appearances last year. 2 years ago, he was a D3 All-American at Denison. So he's back into a little bit more of a comfortable role, and hopefully keeping him more on a set schedule once a week with his routine. We can get the most out of him. And then any combination maybe this weekend, a Logan Coster, who's a GW's Friday starter last year, and then Meade Johnson is another guy who won a JUCO World Series last year. So definitely have some guys with experience, right? Like I'm not calling you and saying, hey, we have 2 freshmen and I have no idea what we got. We did a decent job with adding some guys that have a ton of experience, but obviously they have to do it at a little bit of a higher level as well.
As you bring up, obviously you went into the portal quite a bit this year. Is that just the new reality and it's just going to be like that every year, or is that unique to the circumstances of this year?
Yeah, well, I'd say we're always going to, try to build our program with the high school guys.
Yeah.
We never want to be viewed as a JUCO or a portal. I mean, I think it's just an asset. We'll look at it to add, what is your personnel for that team that year, and you need to add pieces here and there. So no, we're at Maryland, we try to develop guys. We take a lot of pride in our own in developing that. And obviously when you have 7 players drafted and the turnover that we had, it's going to be necessary at times to kind of fill that. So it's definitely the new college landscape, but it's not something that we're going to continuously rely on to actually build the program and develop.
He is Coach Matt Swope. Maryland baseball gets underway this weekend down at Georgia Southern. They'll be home next Tuesday for a game as they'll try to beat the weather over the course of the first couple weeks of the season. Coach, you mentioned obviously it's not just the pitching, new faces, the other side, and clearly a lot of talent that you had to replace. Matt Shaw headlining, but not just him, Schliger, all these other guys. I imagine it helps to have somebody like Kevin Keister that you can rely on, and it's not just like a complete overhaul going into the season.
No, and then like I said again, we got 3 guys that played a lot in the lineup. You got Keister, you got Hakopian, you got Elijah Lambros, all who put up really good numbers last year. They have to kind of take on a little bit more of a leadership role. But then we added Sam Honar and Alex Calarco, who both hit in the middle of Big Ten lineups. And then you add in some influx of some young talent, like Chris Hakopian, the younger brother, is special. Braden Martin, who's a local talent, and then Jordan Carlson, who's from Virginia Beach. So we have some talent. We have some guys back. We added some guys in the portal, and then we have an influx of young talent. So I think at times we're going to be very, very physical on offense. We just kind of see how they take shape, and it's very difficult for freshmen to make an impact at this level. So I mean, I think you're kind of seeing that across the landscape, whether it's in basketball or football. You just got to kind of see how they can handle it.
The burden, you mentioned, and I know that you haven't hid since you took the job, from the goal is to just continue all of the success that you guys have experienced. But do you have to be patient with that? Is there a little bit of, you have to allow for a reset, or do you come in and say, nah, we believe we are the class of the Big Ten and we have no plans on stepping back in any way at this point?
No, I think you're trying to build a standard of excellence, which is when you expect to win every game, and nobody's going to feel bad for you that you had 7 players drafted. No, opponents are going to take it easy on you. So I think, when I try to use bulletin board material now or try to keep these guys in check, it doesn't really faze them, and that's a good thing as a coach, because you're saying, well, okay, this tactic of motivation isn't really working because they expect to win, they expect to be good. So I think that's part of the standard that we've built, and we welcome that. So regardless of the turnover and whatever, I think good programs that have had sustainable success have been able to weather that and forge on. So that's what we're trying to do here, is keep that sustainable success.
What do you still need? Obviously there have been a lot of changes facilities-wise, and there's been a lot of upgrades. What's still on your radar that you want to see away from the field as you've taken on this role, next steps for the program on the whole?
Yeah, well, I think one of my personal dreams is always to try to get a new stadium built.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my legacy will probably be built upon that, and how I can help with that and do that. I think we're we're one facility away like that from really being a destination on the entire East Coast. And we're having our groundbreaking ceremony tomorrow for a brand new indoor that's being built by the Stanley Bob family. So we're going to do that out at the field tomorrow. So things are moving forward, but I will put a lot of time and effort into trying to make that a reality in the time that I'm here, for sure.
So we're not just going to keep settling for like the temporary bleachers moving forward. We got
those are great, and that regional was electric.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
I want it to be more of again, it's just we need to upgrade, and it's something that continue to move the program forward. I have such a connection with DC, Maryland, Baltimore, Virginia, that I want people to want to come, and keep establishing these relationships with the community. And so it's going to be an important part of moving forward with the team.
I saw you had Lamont out again recently, and I know how important he is in your life and what you've meant to him. I saw you hanging out on a show with Hunter Pence recently. Like, how great has it been for you to lean into those relationships now in this role, and for then this group of guys to see like that there is support from like some of these like most top dudes for what it is they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll see Lamont today. He comes in at 12:30. He comes in 2 or 3 days a week. We'll work together. So it's always great to see the professional players that come back, and I think that really helps our players is that, hey, these professional guys, some that didn't even play at Maryland, are still coming in to work out here and try to get developed, and that always helps with recruiting. But on the national stage, I just think that we want to be a place that's known that you can go and get better. Simple as that, and if you look at our trajectory of what has happened, and Matt Shaw, Nick LaRusso, Luke Schlager, even Lamont Wade, none of those guys were ranked in the top 500 out of high school. So we've established, the development process here, and it's just good for the order. So we would love to get that national recognition and have Maryland be a place that's respected first and foremost. And we need to have that, obviously, because, we got sent to Wake last year, and that's a separate conversation, but it's clear that we need to still continue to build the level of respect for Big Ten and Maryland baseball.
And then if I could, it's a selfish thing for me because it's harder for me with 2 young kids to get down, and I got a play-by-play schedule. I've always loved the commitment that the program has had to like come visit the state over the years. I know you guys are continuing that this year, coming to Towson, coming to UMBC to play games, and over the years there have been games, like at Hartford Community College or in Aberdeen, places like that. How big of a deal is that for you to make sure moving forward that you continue to like come see the entire state and play these teams and get to other places and kind of touch the entirety of the state of Maryland?
It's super important. So if the Orioles are listening, I've been trying to get a game there forever. I would love to play at Camden Yards. The Orioles are my favorite team. It shaped my childhood. So having these schools and having these connections, I think, is only good for the community. And the more that we can partner with the Orioles or whoever's locally in the Nats or whoever else, I just think it's good for the order. It's good for us. It's good for them. It promotes the sport, and especially these days where in the inner cities, I don't feel like there's much of attention to baseball. There's not as many players. I think we can continue to kind of partner and move that forward.
Dude, that seems like such a no-brainer. Like, that would be electric, man. Like, we gotta work on that. I'm gonna make a couple of calls today. That would be awesome. All right, Coach. We will be in touch. We will be in contact for sure. You know that, and we will be rooting for you and pulling for all your success. Gets underway this weekend. Coach Matt Swope, appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on with us, and let's talk again as the season gets going. All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Matt Swope. Baseball coach, the University of Maryland, and a Maryland lifer. I mean, like, that man lives and breathes Maryland baseball and has had every opportunity to go do something else. Take jobs at the major league level, pro jobs. That dude cares about Maryland baseball. So it was the obvious choice when there was an opening. It was the definition of a no-brainer for him to be the guy. And, I've said it before. When I was in college, Maryland baseball didn't exist. Like, didn't exist. Not literally. There was a program, but it was kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, right, Maryland baseball. And what's happened over the course of the last, now it's been over a decade at this point, has been a literal miracle. I mean, this is a program that it did not it was to say it was off the radar. It'd be like talking about DePaul basketball. When was the last time you could name a DePaul basketball player? I dare you. Go ahead.
I can't.
Quentin Richardson, probably.
I feel like there's somebody. Oh, well. No.
That was what Maryland baseball was. And it might have been worse than that. It's been a miracle. And obviously, the success, winning the Big Ten, hosting a regional. They've made super regionals. They haven't gotten to Omaha yet. That's the thing. It's a tough ask this year. As Coach mentioned, a lot of turnover on the roster, but got to get the pitching going. That's been the problem, obviously, in the postseason, has been the pitching. And that's an issue throughout a lot of college baseball. Like, it's hard to find programs that are loaded. What was it? LSU obviously was loaded with pitching, right? Like, but other than LSU, it's hard to find programs that are loaded with pitching at the collegiate level. Be exciting. I have become a big college baseball guy. I wish that there was more. I am still a lacrosse guy. That's part of the difficulty for me. Is I got to split my allegiances during the course of the spring.
And now the Orioles are good.
Yeah, and you know what, you say that, but when the years when the Orioles were going through the rebuild, I was soaking up college baseball, soaking it up. And yeah, it is harder. You're 100% right, because I'll see that the Orioles will be on Big Ten Network or the Terps will be on Big Ten Network, and I'll be like, oh, I want to watch that game, and I'll be like, right, but
the Orioles are playing the Red Sox.
There's an Orioles game. I'm obviously going to watch that. It's just what it is. But 3 years ago, I didn't have to worry about that. I could say, yeah, I'm good. If I miss this one, it's going to be all right. All right, thanks to Matt Swope for taking the time for us this morning. Today's show brought to you by Superbook. Hopefully you took the advice and you bet Towson last night. Hopefully you weren't like Griffin and then parlayed it with Kansas, because that was a huge mistake.
It was.
That was a big time. I believe we call that
Kansas may be dead.
A boner is what they call that. That's actually what the term boner was used by a previous generation to describe errors, mistakes.
Gotcha.
What a boner that was.
How did the definition of that change?
Well, I mean, I think the other thing was pretty obvious.
Well, yeah.
Why we called it a boner. And so I think once that started, people just got away from calling the other things a boner, which is a shame, because I love bringing it out every now and then. No, you know what?
You love bringing your boner out?
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
Is that
what you said?
Back off that. What I said was nothing.
Well,
that's what I said.
It was a little something.
Nothing at all.
I love.
If you're a Washington Capitals fan, the number tonight, I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to hockey. They just score way more goals in hockey games these days. Because the total is 6.5 tonight it's the Avalanche. The Avalanche are
the Avs are good.
They're really good.
I wouldn't bet on them.
Might have something to do with that.
I wouldn't bet on the Capitals tonight. That would be my
they're plus
unofficial professional
Avalanche
advice.
minus 165 tonight against the Capitals. If that's something that gets you going, it does not for me. Sorry, just the way that it goes.
Gets me going on the Avs, maybe.
Does not get me going. And looking ahead to next year, the Ravens are the second favorite in the AFC, plus 450, while the Chiefs are at plus 400. And for the Super Bowl, the Ravens are the third favorite at 8-1, behind the 49ers 5-1 and the Chiefs 7-1. So if you want to get some early action, if you want to feel life again now that football season's over, go ahead to Superbook. Download the Superbook app, superbook.com. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. John, I understand what you're saying about Maryland, but I really do appreciate the fact that the baseball program over the years has always kind of gone out of their ways to make sure that they play games in this region. To the point, it would be nice if they promoted it a little bit. I don't disagree with that, but that's hard anymore, because are you promoting it on the radio or on Facebook or on Twitter? I don't know what the correct answer is any longer for how to promote it, but they've always come up and played at Towson and played at UMBC, and I'm telling you, they played Delaware at Hartford Community College once, and I remember taking my at the time, it was maybe the first baseball game my son ever went to. And they've played at Ripken Stadium before, and I'd like to see them continue to do that because you get those Tuesday one-off games. Like, why not?
Right.
Why not come play those somewhere else?
Because my senior year at Towson, that was the year I think Maryland was the best when they were like ranked.
The year they made the Super Region? That couldn't have been your senior year. Was that the year they
2 years.
hosted the region?
Yes, the year they hosted. Yeah. And so they came up to Towson. Well, Towson, they always do like a home, or they usually do a home and home.
Yep.
And so they went down to College Park and they got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Maryland came back up like the end of April, and Towson was down. They came back. They forced extra innings. Maryland eventually won.
Well, the other thing about those Tuesday games is they normally aren't
was
starting one of their top guys for that game, so you got a better shot at picking them off in those circumstances. But I've appreciated that about Maryland baseball. They've committed to like coming to these programs and playing
like Mount
games.
St. Mary's and.
I don't think they go to Mount St. Mary's.
They
they
don't.
host Mount St. Mary's. I don't think they travel to Mount St. Mary's. I don't know if that's a facility thing out there or what it is. Like, I don't know if Mount St. Mary's broadcasts the games. I'm sure there are considerations made to all those things. I'm not opposed to it. I think it'd be a neat thing. I'm not opposed to them going out and playing a game at is the new Hagerstown Stadium opening this year?
I don't know. They are at Mount St. Mary's this year.
They are at Mount St. Mary's. Okay, so there you go. There you go. Like, I like that. I like that they do that. Go play a game at Salisbury. You know what I mean? Like, go play a game. It's not, to the point, until you have a new facility, it's not like it's so desperate. If you wanted to play a one-off game.
Yeah, they play at each UMBC, Towson, and the Mount this year.
It's great. And he said he's trying to get a connection with the Orioles. You've seen the Orioles host Navy baseball, where they played Navy UMBC, right? It was a game that the Orioles hosted. It'd be awesome to have a Maryland, whoever, Villanova, something like that, game, a one-off game at Camden Yards. That would be dope. I would love that. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Matt Swope. When we come back in, let's do County Sports on Radio, right? Yeah. It's Tuesday. Yeah. That's what we do on Tuesdays. We'll catch up with our friend Wes Brown, find out what's going on in the world of local high school sports. That's next. GCR.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on. Where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
If you missed it yesterday, Stan the Fan Charles, as well as Ross Grimsley, caught up with the great Scotty McGregor ahead of the start of Orioles spring training. Pitchers and catchers reporting this week. You can find that show right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. All right, it's Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we try to find out what's going on in the world of local high school sports. And to do that, we catch up with our friend Wes Brown of County Sports Zone for County Sports Zone Radio here on GCR. Wes, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I am very good. Let's mix it up this week. Why don't we start with a little bit of what's happening in high school wrestling, a big event this past week.
Yeah, so this past weekend was the dual wrestling championship, so the team events there. But before they get into the individual competitions, not necessarily anything groundbreaking, as all the top seeds won. Walt Women in 4A, Linganore 3A, Stephen Decatur 2A, and South Carroll 1A. South Carroll was also a 3-time repeat champion. But the 3A and 4A finals were at least a little close, and there were some close semifinals there. But the teams that were expected to win pretty much pulled them out.
I have to be honest. This is the first time that I realized that they did a different team competition than individual. I just sort of assumed they did the two at the same time. So I have learned something today. When is the individual? When are the individual championships?
So the individual wrestling tournament starts on the 23rd of this month.
Okay.
With the finals on March 1st and 2nd.
All right, very good. Winding down, obviously, in the regular season in high school basketball. What were some of the results that stood out to you this week?
Yeah, so last week they had some pretty big games. Obviously, City Poly with City pulling that one out, a 6-point win. Mount Carmel and St. Francis were two huge MIA teams getting together with Mount Carmel actually pulling out the upset, 55-52. And then Concordia Prep also pulled off an upset, beating Gerstel Academy 50-40. And last night I was out at River Hill for River Hill Long Reach with two of the top teams in Howard County, with the Hawks managing to pull out that victory 72-66 to clinch the Howard County title.
Excellent. And then who's the athlete of the week?
Going off of that game last night, Braden Sarich from River Hill finished with 23 points, 15 in the second half. In that win, I was just amazed with his body control. He had no fear, driving to the hole, and he was able to just kind of float in the air and make some key finishes. And then on top of that, he was able to step out and hit a big three to seal things off.
All right. I mean, that seems well worthy of being the athlete of the week. Is anyone I know, we're getting down to the end of the regular season. Either at the public school or the private school level, is anyone really separating themselves, or is this like more open going into these tournaments than perhaps we're used to some seasons being?
I feel like it's a little more open. Usually there's, the select few, really good teams that you're kind of waiting, kind of like football, you're waiting around to see who gets upset. I feel like this year is a little bit different. We have a few teams that are, in that top sphere that are going to have to beat each other. The long range coach was talking to me last night. He's like, he was glad, they're able to play games like these now to prepare them because, it's going to be a tough battle. So it should be hopefully an entertaining playoffs as we hit it here in about a week and a half.
All right, very good. Let's remind everybody as we get closer to the playoffs about what they can find at County Sports Zone and, of course, the big pick'em contest.
Yeah, so playoffs are coming up here in the next week and a half. We've got the brackets that'll be posted as soon as the seedings are finalized, and it'll be the best place to find when games are, where they are, what time and who wins. And then on top of that, we have our CSE Pick'em for boys basketball here. Different counties each day throughout the week. Sign up, pick a contest, swipe for which team you think will win, and you can climb the leaderboard and play against some friends.
By the way, I did not realize that Mount Carmel was now tied with St. Francis atop their division. Like, that seems noteworthy, right? Like, Mount Carmel, not to take anything away from them as a program, but they have not been competing at the top of the A Conference in a few years, right?
Yeah. This season especially, they definitely made a climb there to the top.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. All right, remind everybody also about social media, where they can find you, where they can find CSE. Yep,
so CSE is at CSE Scores on Twitter, Instagram. You can find them County Sports Zone on Facebook as well. Then I'm at W_Brown21.
Excellent. Wes Brown, appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes for us. Let's talk again next Tuesday, all right?
Yep, sounds good.
That's Wes Brown, County Sports Zone, with us for County Sports Zone Radio. And, of course, appreciate Toyota for their partnership with County Sports Zone and making it possible for everybody to get the best high school sports coverage. It's your headquarters for local high school scores, schedules, standings across all sports. CountySportsZone.com, proudly sponsored by Toyota. Sun's already out. The snow's already gone. It's 10:51 a.m.
So what are you going to do about it?
Put them back in school. I'm not kidding. I want them to go get all the kids and put them back in school. It's gone.
Maybe it'll come back.
I just looked up, and I don't see the snow is gone. My a-hole kids.
Yeah.
Maybe it's still in the Hereford zone, but like they'll actually be heartbroken because their grandmother is coming to spend the day with them starting at 12 o'clock. My mother.
Ah.
And presumably their plan was just to spend the day sledding.
Yeah, it might get hot today. Yeah, it's definitely done. It's definitely done. There's no more.
Give up.
There's no more coming. So
just give up. We are. It's a heck of a place. Try to explain this to somebody from Western New York. Try to say, hey, here's what it would look like. It's annoying. It's very annoying. Alas, it's what it is. I get it. John's like, oh, you got to remember, they don't want to get sued. Like, I understand, but like accidents can happen in the rain too.
So
Like,
let's just never go to school.
That's where I'm at. Like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't care this much about this. I should just say, but there's no snow. Look outside.
Yeah, what you should be caring about is
Gone.
Patrick Mahomes being
the GOAT.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT. They're going to try to F that chicken for days. They so desperately need Draymond Green.
Years, actually.
They need Draymond Green to chuck a basketball at somebody. They desperately need something.
They need Draymond Green to give somebody a wet willy. Or
who's an NBA player that could be pissed off about something? Kyrie Irving could be pissed off any day, right?
Well,
he's been awfully quiet, hasn't he?
Yeah, he
got there.
He's been playing well.
But he's not done anything to bring attention to himself. Like, there's no topic. I can't imagine if like you do the NBA primarily. Like, what's getting you through right now? Again, you probably
a lot of All-Star break storyline.
What's the storyline?
Who's playing in the celebrity game?
No, that sure as hell ain't it. What is the storyline?
Metal World Peace is playing in the celebrity game, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think that I'm going to watch that?
Maybe.
No.
What are you doing Friday night?
Anything but that. I actually don't have any plans on Friday night.
Yeah, exactly.
I still won't.
Celebrity basketball game.
I swear to God.
I remember like in middle school, I think I cared. Like, which I don't like. Is that their target? I don't know what the target is.
I have no idea what the target is. I think the target isn't necessarily the TV audience. I feel like the target is how do we come up with another event during the course of the weekend that we can get people to buy tickets to? Because they don't even do, like, I'm pretty sure they don't even do the celebrity game at the same location as the Rising Stars game. Indy's weird. They're doing the dunk contest in the stadium, but not the All-Star game. The All-Star game is at the arena.
Oh, they're doing the dunk contest like at Lucas Oil.
The dunk contest is in the dome. It's bizarre, man.
Are they right next to each other?
Not right next to each other, but they're
Okay.
not so far apart that it's unwieldy. I mean, like, they're both downtown Indianapolis, but they're not. It's a good walk. You probably wouldn't want to walk it, but it also doesn't matter. Like, I just don't. I don't know.
Well, I guess because the dunk contest.
I guess
is
that's
bigger.
their way of. I guess that's what their way of acknowledging that nobody. That
Who's in the dunk?
we're not pretending any longer that anybody cares about the All-Star game. Because remember, they did the All-Star game in the stadium in Dallas, right? Like, they did it, and they did it with the full court. Like, they did it. They tried to get 100,000+ people at the All-Star game, and I think they successfully did in Dallas. But I bet there's a lot of regret. I bet there's a lot of people that paid money for a ticket to that, sat in the upper deck of a stadium to watch a fake basketball game, and said to themselves, "What am I doing with my life? Like, why am I doing this?"
I don't know about this.
They're not doing the full setup. Who are the four? It's McClung again, right?
Yeah, Mac McClung's back.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown, yes.
I don't remember.
The other two you're never going to get.
Okay.
Well, Jaime Jaquez.
Oh, I like.
mean,
Jaime.
yeah, like,
I'm a
like,
fa-
like, it's
I don't
it's
know
random.
I don't know if
but-
he's a good dunker or not, but I like him as a player.
And then Jacob Toppin, not Obi Toppin. Jacob Toppin.
I definitely know that's a person. Totally have heard of
I think
that.
he's like in the Knicks.
Did he play at Dayton? Like what?
I don't know.
I don't know any. I've
don't
never
know.
heard of Jacob Toppin
Neither have
in my
I.
life.
I think he's in the Knicks like G
Are you sure?
League.
Are you sure Obi didn't just change his name?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, yeah, okay. He is the brother of Obi
Okay.
Toppin. And yeah, he's in the Knicks G League team.
If you say so.
And he went.
I mean, that's what it's just G League guys now.
He went to Rhode Island.
If you're
and
just
then
gonna do
Kentucky.
G League guys, why not get like 6 of them? Like, why limit it to just the
well,
2?
No, well, like Mac McClung plays now.
Does he?
I think so.
For who?
For the team that he's on.
He was with the Sixers, wasn't he? You have no idea.
Yeah, the team that he plays for.
You're our NBA guy.
I'm.
No clue.
Yeah, actually, never mind. You're right. I think Mac McClung.
It was your hero. It was your hero, Mac McClung.
Yeah, he's on Orlando's G League
Yeah, exactly.
squad.
It's half G League guy. There's one NBA player that anybody's.
Jaime Jaquez plays.
He plays. You're right. That's true. He's not established like a.
Do you want to play? What team are these guys on?
Oh God.
Mike Conley.
Utah?
No.
Where'd he go?
He's on the Timberwolves.
Oh, I did know that. Damn it, I did know that.
Bojan Bogdanovic.
Oh, that's impossible.
He just got traded.
Oh, that's right. He did. Pissed. That's unfair.
Well, that's why that might help you. Like that, his name's been in
It's
the.
it's gotta be. Well, it's gotta be a good team too. He went to the Knicks.
Correct. Yeah.
Hey,
From where?
Detroit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kelly
Detroit.
Oubre.
I don't think I know where Kelly Oubre has been since the Suns.
Yeah, I don't know what his track. He is currently with the Sixers.
Okay, good for him.
Let's see. Who else should I do here? Harrison Barnes.
Kings?
Yes.
Okay.
Still with the Kings. Let's
This is a bad.
I'm trying.
We
to
could
get
do a
a
whole-
list.
We can do a whole segment of this.
Donovan Mitchell.
Was he a Cavalier?
Yeah. Okay.
I
Just want to
know-
make
I
sure.
do
Just
know
want to
that.
make sure.
Yeah. Come on.
Just make sure we
Like,
know.
Like that's embarrassing.
James Harden.
He's a Sixer.
No.
Oh right, he's not a Sixer anymore. Oh God. Ah.
This is why we got to do it.
Oh God. He's the Clipper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
DeAndre
do.
Ayton.
Pacers.
No.
Where did he
No.
end up?
Remember that story of him when he got iced in?
Oh right, Portland. Yeah.
Yeah,
my
he's in
bad. My
Portland.
bad.
He's in
My
Portland.
bad. Damn it. Damn it.
Let's see. Who
This
do we
is
want to
going
do
well.
here? We know where Jordan Poole is. Oh, that one wouldn't have worked.
Wait,
Spencer Dinwiddie. You got no shot.
The Nets.
No, not the Nets. Not
was a
that-
Net, though.
about 6 years ago, I think. Yeah. That was probably more recent.
I got nothing.
He is a Los Angeles Laker.
Oh, okay.
Daniel Gafford just got traded.
Yeah, but I didn't care about Daniel Gafford. I know he was a Wizard. He went to Dallas?
Correct.
I think I
Correct.
did see that.
Clint Capella.
I didn't know Clint Capella was still in the league. Last time I remember Clint Capella, he was a Hawk.
He is still a Hawk.
Hey!
Good job. Unless he went and came back.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's totally
yeah, it's
possible,
very
too.
possible. OG Anunoby.
He's a Knick.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
He got traded from the Raptors to the Knicks.
Jakob Poeltl.
Also, the last time he was a Hawk.
Not a Hawk.
Okay.
He is a
He's
Toronto Raptor.
he's the game. He's the Wordle.
He's a Toronto Raptor.
Okay.
RJ Barrett.
I'm assuming that means he's not a Nick anymore.
Yeah, he's not a Nick anymore.
So he's a Pelican.
I guess he was in that. I guess he must have been in the no, I don't know what trade.
He
he's in
to
Toronto.
Detroit?
No,
he's in Toronto. He might have been the Anunoby trade.
Yeah. There it is.
Because wasn't Quickly in that trade? Hartford County's
yeah.
own?
Or what was it? Quentin Grimes or?
I thought Emmanuel Quickly went to Toronto.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Grimes, Quickly, and Barrett. Buddy Hield.
Oh, he just got traded.
I think he also got traded too.
He did just get traded. I know he got traded.
This is essentially our NBA trade deadline update.
He went to Philly, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he went to Philly.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I love
Dennis Schroeder.
Oh, God. I'm going to, again, when in doubt, guess he's still a Hawk.
No. Not a Hawk.
I don't know. Toronto?
No, he's in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's in Brooklyn. Colin Sexton.
Still in Cleveland?
No, he's not still in Cleveland.
How would I know?
He's a Utah. He is a. I don't know how you say it. He's a Utah Jazz.
Was he in the Donovan Mitchell deal?
Maybe he was. There's
I don't remember.
a good chance he was.
I don't remember.
Bobby Portis.
The last time I remember, he was a Bull.
No.
Okay.
He is Milwaukee. He's been in Milwaukee for a
Oh,
little
I
bit,
did know that.
Yeah.
Never. Damn it, I did know that.
How long do we? I guess we don't have to keep.
No,
doing
because we got to talk to Patrick.
Yeah. Let me give you one more. Let's find a good one here. No, that's not a good one. Yeah, that's not a good one either.
This is so bad.
Yeah.
This is so.
Karis LeVert.
I couldn't have told you that Karis LeVert was definitely still in the league. Last I remember, he was a net.
He's no longer a net.
Okay, so he's
been with this team all year.
The Timberwolves.
No, not the Timberwolves.
He is Magic.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
That was my next guess. My next one. NBA expert. Tell you what, once we get to the conference finals, baby. I don't know that I could name more than 8 guys on my favorite team's roster. Because I don't get to watch many games. It's the reality of it. All right, we're into hour number 2 of the program. That was not a good showing for me. Could have done a lot better in that department. Every Tuesday, we'd like to catch up on what's going on in the world of college sports. Joining us now, the Washington Post, USA Lacrosse Magazine. You follow him on Twitter at Discourse, D1S Course. He is Patrick Stevens, and he is with us here on GCR. Patrick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, Glenn. How are you this morning?
I'm all right. Much needed win for Towson, obviously, last night. I don't know that it was worth overreacting to a couple of losses, but they just needed to make sure that they showed that's just the difficulty of playing in the CAA and not like a trend that they were going the wrong way headed towards March.
Well, I think there was a difference between the two losses. I mean, they basically got themselves in a low-scoring game, but played pretty well up at Hofstra. They didn't play great, but they didn't play terribly either. But there was a definite sense in talking to Pat Scarry and Charles Thompson last night that the loss to Delaware at home, and I saw some of that on my DVR, that was below their standards, like in terms of the effort that was being put forth. You know, they brought Nenda Tark and Christian May off the bench last night as clearly kind of one of those let's get everybody's attention type of things. And then basically handled an Elon team that's not great. Elon played zone pretty much the entire way. It was just a matter of how long is it going to take for Towson to start knocking down some threes. And that finally started happening in the last 7 minutes or so of the first half, and it turned what had at that point been about a point per minute thing for both teams into a 10-point halftime lead for Towson, and they rolled to a 25-point victory. So I don't know if that solves everything for them. I mean, just to be honest, Elon isn't very good.
Right.
But I think to see Tyler Tejada make some shots, to see Nenda Tark and Christian May play defense. They both had 5 rebounds, which was also something that stood out to Pat after the game. So I think that's a game that gets them on the right track again. They're right now tied for third. They're in a 4-way tie for third in the CAA, a game back of Wilmington and Charleston, who they play still again a second time. So, this weekend, 2 kind of must wins for them, playing William and Mary and Hampton, which are 2 teams in the bottom third of the conference, bottom quarter of the conference. And if they can get those 2, and they're sitting there at 10-4 with 4 games to go, you're in pretty decent shape at that point, especially if you can win the games you're supposed to and put yourself in a spot to at least get that double bye. Because at this point, we've talked about it several times already, but for a team in that league, you get a top 4 seed and you take your chances from there.
So I heard something because I watched the broadcast last night, and I know Pat. You know Pat, and sometimes he'll say things, but it was an interesting tidbit that John Fanta passed along that, like, Pat Scarry had said that he believes that Tyler Tejada might be the most talented player he's ever recruited and landed at Towson. And you remember, of course, that, like, Jarrell Benjamin was a transfer, and so there's some qualifications there. And because the first thought I had was like, okay, that's just Pat, blowing smoke and talking to John Fanta before. But then I was like, is it possible that's true? Like, is it?
It is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible it's true. Because basically, Tejada is a 6'9" dude with guard skills. And he had a growth spurt in high school, as it happens, right? A guy that's like 6 foot, 6'1", shoots up by 6 or 7 inches, and you look up, it's like, oh, you still have those guard skills that you had before. You think about the number of guys that they've had over the years. They've always kind of had the issue of, can they finally find a point guard, right? Like, that's sort of been the missing piece more often than not for that team. And they've had good players. I mean, just last year they had Nick Timberlake, who'd been in the program for many years, and Jason Gibson. And obviously Charles Thompson, I think it's fair to say he's a self-made player, a guy that's just made himself better over the years. But, there hasn't been a whole lot of those guys that just roll in and are immediately stars from the jump there. And I think Tejada, there's a very good chance or a very good case you can make that he is as talented as anybody that Pat Scarry has brought in as a freshman during his long stint at Towson.
Now we talk about Maryland, and there's not really a whole lot to say. I it's the part where you can't say it's over because it's not over until it's actually over, but, like, it's over. Like, you know what I mean? Did I say that the correct way?
I think you pretty much did. I think last week pretty much was it. Those were, beat Rutgers at home, Ohio State on the road are 2 good chances to get victories, and you lose one by 3 points and another in double overtime. I mean, that Rutgers game was exactly the game that I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I really regret not bringing that peach basket.
You certainly. I hope as I said the next day. I hope everyone took your advice. I hope everyone.
Yeah.
Patrick has never cared about gambling in the history of gambling, and yet gave you gambling advice last Tuesday. I hope you listen.
I think the one takeaway I'll offer up from Saturday is, where's Matty Traore been? Now, granted, I think that some of this is for a dude that had played 2 minutes since the turn of the new year, and somebody that had played a grand total of 16 minutes since the start of December. I think it's safe to say, with no disrespect to him, that he wasn't exactly showing up in a prominent spot in Ohio State's scouting report.
That's fair.
So,
yeah.
There were probably some scenarios there where, especially in the first half of that game, where Ohio State's like, who's this dude? But he played pretty well, 8 points and 5 rebounds in 20 minutes, and they were better with him on the floor than just about anybody else. So maybe they've uncovered a little something there out of necessity. And he obviously had some injuries early on in the season too. But at this point, I think if you're Maryland, anything that shows even the slightest hint of life for your offense is something that's worth investigating moving forward. So, at the same time, the same things that we've talked about now for 3 months are still there. It's a team that defends like crazy. It's a team that just doesn't have much rhythm at all at the offensive end. And, I think it's pretty clear that it's going to be a very important offseason for Kevin Willard to fix an offense that is very difficult to watch more often than not.
I brought this up like 2 weeks ago. I know that it's hard to quantify this. The shame to me is that I fear that now, because Maryland won't accomplish anything, Jameer Young will sort of be just remembered as like the next in the group of the Melo Trimble, Anthony Cowan. It'll be hard to separate one from the other because no one had an individual accomplishment or a team that was so significant. And I feel like Jahmir Young has been even better. And those guys are good players. But I feel like Jahmir Young's been even better than that. And I you almost start to feel bad for him that he'll sort of not stand out the way that it feels like he should based on the quality of player that he's been.
Yeah, I think you could certainly make that case, but I mean, this is also a dude that is going to end up in the top 50, if not maybe the top 40 in career scoring, and do it in two years.
Seasons, yeah.
And the comparison I would make, and this is not somebody that doesn't get his flowers, and given the career that he had, rightfully so, but a guy that toiled and put up some great numbers on some teams that mostly weren't very good was Walt Williams.
Yeah.
And, I don't think anybody's opinion of Walt Williams is diminished because of the teams that he played on. Now, he also plays an almost mythic part in the whole, rise of Maryland basketball legend, essentially.
Yes.
And so that is something, obviously, Jahmir Young is not going to be able to have it in his pocket. But I think that there's a great deal of respect that is and will be accorded to Jahmir Young. And I think, too, his place in how, he's viewed as part of that program is probably tied a little bit to what ultimately becomes of the Kevin Willard era.
Yeah.
Like, if this year is simply a speed bump and Kevin Willard starts churning out Sweet 16 teams, then it's going to be that's the dude that kind of provided a foundation for where they were going to be headed. And if Kevin Willard is the coach at Maryland for, let's say, 5 years or less, then there probably isn't going to be quite the same level of reverence. But that said, you look at what Jahmir Young has done this season, and some of the numbers are just silly.
It's nuts.
And not just 31 at Michigan State or 37 at UCLA or 36 at Northwestern. Just overall, like some of the efficiency numbers are just simply silly, and especially on a team where there's only so many other serious offensive threats that can be on the floor at once. So this isn't a guy that happens to be surrounded by high-end offensive talent at all four other spots. He's done a lot, and frankly, he if you're going to see a Maryland basketball game, he's the reason to go watch.
Yeah, no question. All right, Patrick Stevens with us here on GCR. Let's hop over to the lacrosse side, Patrick. Maryland-Syracuse, Saturday night in the Dome, looks pretty tasty for an early season matchup. Obviously, Maryland reminding everybody of just how good they are, particularly defensively and at the face-off dot against Loyola on Saturday.
Yeah, like you can kind of, and for both of those teams, for Maryland and Loyola, you can look at those games. You can look at that game in a couple different ways. Like if you're Maryland, you're thrilled with what you're doing because you did not have the ability to do that, particularly on the back half of last season. Simply weren't healthy enough at that end. You won all 14 out of 18 face-offs. Go ahead and credit the Luke Weirman show and all that. But you can also look at that and say, Maryland shot like 11 of 48.
That's fair.
Like that wasn't a great offensive performance, especially for a team that had the ball as much as they did. Now they didn't need to do a whole lot either. I mean, at some point there, you're basically, the clock is your friend, and it doesn't necessarily matter if you're getting a great shot if you can take a minute plus off the clock in the second half. So I totally get that. On the flip side, if you're Loyola, you're sitting there going, you better figure out a way to win some face-offs because, there's some pretty good face-off dudes that you're going to run into in the Patriot League.
Yeah.
And so you've got to solve that. But at the same time, if you're Loyola and you had that possession disparity against you and you only gave up 11 goals and you held Maryland to 23% shooting, you got to feel pretty good about, and Luke Stout made 16 saves, you got to feel pretty good about your defensive effort. I mean, you basically didn't have your offense on the field enough to give those guys much of a chance. And that end of the field didn't play well when they did get a chance. But defensively, I don't think Loyola walks away from that feeling terrible about about how it performed down there.
I think it's all of that is fair. Do we know yet how legit Syracuse is, or is that to be determined on Saturday?
I think we're going to learn that on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't think Vermont, Colgate, Manhattan probably gives you that much of a barometer. I can tell you that when I saw them late last season, those freshmen were almost a full year in. I saw them in mid-April against North Carolina. And the sense that I got watching them was that there's a little bit of that old Syracuse back where, they were in a tight game in the last minute and for all those years, Syracuse in that kind of game was like, yeah, we got this. There was always a little bit of that where you just knew they were super comfortable in that spot. And they've obviously augmented their roster with a bunch of transfers this season to go along with all those young guys that got a ton of playing time last year. So I'm inclined to think that this is a year that Syracuse makes a jump again. They went from 4-10 to 500 last year, but they beat Princeton and Carolina in the back half of the season. They were a nuisance to good teams. I think this year they're a team that's capable of being a quarterfinalist, certainly returning to the tournament. And I think their talent level at both ends of the field is higher than it's probably been in the last 4 or 5 years.
I think that they are obviously exciting for a bunch of different reasons, and one of the most talented young players, or most exciting young players, and it's Syracuse lacrosse. I'm really glad this one's on TV, right? For the sport, I'm really glad that this one is on TV and that more of the country is going to be able to see it on Saturday. Anything else that jumped out at you over the weekend? Obviously, Hopkins gets a good win. I don't know if we're learning maybe something about Georgetown because of the first 2 weeks. Anything else that jumped out at you?
Georgetown's pretty new as well, and so to play a 2-goal game there. I mean, I felt like that was about right. Frankly, there weren't exactly a ton of surprises this weekend. This was, Penn State bounced back from its loss to Colgate and handled Villanova pretty easily. McCabe Millen had 5 goals in his debut for Virginia as they swamped Michigan 19-11. But it wasn't a week where there was a whole lot of movement in one direction or another. So this was very much a treading water kind of weekend. And even, like I mentioned Michigan losing at Virginia, Loyola losing at Maryland. I mean, those were ranked teams that lost, but was it really that surprising that those teams lost in those scenarios? Not really. So I think we'll learn a little bit more, especially with the Ivies opening up play this weekend.
And, of course, UMBC opens their season this weekend as well. All right, let's play our game. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB teams this particular player has played for or managed? And I got a reminder after he was on our show last week that I've never used this since we started doing managers, so it seems like a layup to me, but I'll go ahead and toss out 5 teams for Buck Showalter.
Buck Showalter. So Buck Showalter was the manager of the Yankees from 92 to 95.
Yes and yes.
And then he was the Diamondbacks manager from 98 to 2000.
Of course, from their inception until the year before they won the World Series.
And then I think Texas from 01 to 04, was it?
So I would have gotten this wrong as well. It was not an immediate jump to Texas. It was 03 to 06 for Texas. Yeah.
And then obviously Baltimore from 11 to, was it 18?
Remember, he showed up in the middle of the 2010 season.
This is the 10 season, okay.
He showed up in, well, maybe it was August. Maybe it was not right to say the middle. But yes, until 2018.
Yeah, that was the Juan Samuel in the middle year, right?
Yes.
And then the Mets in 22 and 23.
There you go. That's Buck Showalter. Now, on to a couple of players. Admittedly, tricky. I did my best here for the 5-team guy, someone who was a 2-time All-Star, once led the league in saves, is recognized in one of his team's Ring of Honors. But I will tell you, I would have only gotten 3 for Bob Wickman.
Bob Wickman. So Bob Wickman was a Yankee for sure.
Most certainly.
At the start. He was a Cleveland Indian.
2 different stints in Cleveland.
Yes. He was a Milwaukee Brewer where he was an all-star.
And he was recognized on their Wall of Honor.
Okay, and it should be noted that the only time I went to County Stadium, made a trip out there, it was Bob Wickman All-Star Poster Night.
Hey.
He was traded the day before. He was traded the day before to Atlanta.
So that's how you know. Well done. Well done.
So that's 4, and the 5th one I got to admit I'm a little lost on the 5th one, but I'll go ahead and do what I normally do and say the Dodgers.
Very, very smart, but it was actually the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks was the final stop for Bob Wickman in 2007. And then a little bit more recent, I believe he is unemployed at the moment. I will double check that. Yeah, still a free agent, and we'll see if he continues. Also, apparently it's 5 teams. I did not realize. Okay, 5 teams for a 2-time All-Star and a World Series champion. Johnny Cueto is the other name.
Johnny Cueto. Okay, well, Johnny Cueto was definitely in Cincinnati.
Obviously the bulk.
He was in San Francisco.
The rest of the bulk. So now you've got nothing but 1-year stops.
Am I thinking he was in Miami for a minute?
That was last season. He was in Miami.
Was he in Kansas City for a minute?
He was a trade deadline acquisition of the Royals, and I think won his World Series with the Royals. Yes, won a World Series with the Royals in 15.
So
you're missing where he was 2 years ago, and it's understandable because they were worth missing.
Well, if they were worth missing 2 years ago, there's only so many serious candidates. But I'll throw the Tigers out of that.
Not the Tigers, but the right division.
Okay, so he would have been with the White Sox.
The White Sox, exactly right.
Okay.
That's where Johnny Cueto was 2 years ago. All right, sir, what's the schedule look like for you this week?
George Washington, George Mason tonight. Navy and American tomorrow in Annapolis.
Okay.
And then Friday, Villanova, Georgetown. Saturday is still to be sorted out completely, but definitely will include Maryland and Illinois down in College Park.
Very good. At Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter is how you follow him. Patrick Stevens, always appreciate you, sir. We'll talk again next Tuesday.
Awesome, Glenn. Take care.
Patrick Stevens with us every Tuesday here on GCR as we do our college basketball, college lacrosse. It is a bummer that like Maryland Syracuse lacrosse is on TV, but it's the same time as Maryland basketball. But why
is it a bummer?
Why? Just why? Although in fairness, Illinois is like the one team they beat this year, so like maybe they could win that game.
What time did they play?
I think it's 5:30
okay.
for basketball, 6 o'clock for lacrosse.
Okay,
if I remember correctly. I mean, if I were you, don't waste your. Why do that to yourself?
Be a good appetizer for the UFC pay-per-view. I don't know.
All right, that's a big week for you. Are we doing fighting words on Thursday?
Yeah, plan on it. Is that okay?
All right. Well, the Tyson Fury fight isn't happening, right?
Correct.
That one's not. So that's kind of a bummer because it was going to be a really big fight weekend.
It was.
But and then did I see somewhere that like John Jones said he got offered the UFC 300 main event and he wasn't going to be ready, and so now everybody is realizing that the UFC has nothing. Because haven't they been like talking out of their ass like they have?
Yes, they have been, which is
weird.
It's
going to be the greatest fight card ever, and
so
like they don't even know what it is.
It is going to be the greatest fight card anyway.
I'm so sure.
Well, I mean, greatest is whatever you mean, but like it's already loaded with like really great fights. Like it's there's not necessarily the the Conor McGregor or the John Jones.
Well, I think
that's
the problem is that like it's for you, and they want it to be for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're just going to maybe there's a chance Izzy still comes out and maybe he fights Dricus Duplessis.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we're getting closer and closer.
And where is that the where?
Yeah, it'll be in Vegas.
But it's not the one at the Sphere, right?
No.
When are they doing it? They haven't.
He wants to do it on Mexican Independence Day, I think, is everything that Dana has. And whenever he's talked in an interview, that is when he wants to do it. Which is
that the Cinco de Mayo?
September? Oh. No.
Like, what am I missing there? I don't know what Mexican Independence Day is. So yeah, go ahead. Tell me I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, you're a terrible person. Yeah, it's September. Yeah, because that was what they did last fall.
And they just had a whole card.
They did like a UFC Noche thing was what they did, and it was a bunch of Mexican fighters. But the problem, but they did it in. Well, where did they do that? I think they did it. I think they still did it in Vegas. But yeah,
I don't really know how I'd feel about
They are doing a Mexico City card coming up.
But I don't know how I'd feel about because the idea of the sphere is that the
right. Yeah,
the
I don't
imaging
know.
matters, and I just don't really know that I want that for a fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like
watch people that are there.
I just don't know
I guess
that.
they'll figure.
Like what would I want?
But Dana's
on
been
that?
like, since
I
I knew
know.
about this thing,
I know.
we're gonna
that
fight
guy,
there.
That man talks out of his ass more than anybody on the face of the planet.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, for God's sakes. Hey.
I'm sick of
the. Did you see the story? This is a true story from last week. The NHL draft is at the Sphere this year, which again, fine, and it might get them a little bit of attention because everybody's excited about the Sphere. But I don't know how you make the draft. Like, what are you putting on that screen that adds to the draft? I think the idea of concerts work because you're matching the audio with the visual, right? Like, and it's an immersive experience. I don't know how you do that for the draft. I just don't know how you make that something more and how that translates on television or anything like that.
I mean, I guess this. I don't know what is this just the point of the Sphere, like the Sphere, like people just want to start
because
everybody's holding events
just
there, even though
if you just say Sphere,
they're like, oh
yeah, right, like it's become that thing. Like,
yeah.
Whoa.
NHL draft. Okay.
So,
I mean, for us, it's not going to change anything. Like watching at home, like it's not going to change.
But you and I aren't going to watch the NHL. They could do the NHL draft.
When is the
on a polar ice cap, and we wouldn't watch it.
Well,
they could do the NHL draft from 1,000 feet underwater, and we wouldn't watch. Like we're just never going to watch the NHL draft.
Do like a steel cage match. Whoever's the last man surviving is number one overall pick.
So the Rangers. I don't know all the details of this because this is like the thing that we just did with the NBA. I don't.
You want to do the hockey players?
Zero. I don't know that there's 6 players.
Alexander Ovechkin.
I might be able to get that one. So, the Rangers apparently have been told they're not by stupid James Dolan that they're not allowed to trade their draft pick because Madison Square Garden owns the Sphere. And it will not allow them to not be involved with the draft at the Sphere. It's so stupid. You can't put it into words. Like, it's so... and again, I don't know any of the details of, like, what trade they could make and, like, what would they have a chance at winning the Stanley Cup.
Want the number one pick?
I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about the NHL to be able to have a comment on it other than to know... And by the way, on the list of James Dolan's crimes, my God, it's it doesn't come near the top. But James Dolan saying you can't trade the draft pick because I own the Sphere and I want the Rangers promoted at the Sphere is chef's kiss of bat-essery. Like just the height of awful, insane stupidity from the owner of those teams. God bless y'all up there that still care about them.
Well, hopefully they get a good guy. Good guy there, number one.
Such an amazing story.
John Jones isn't going to fight. Well, so there was like a video of him like wrestling. He was wrestling somebody like just kind of like, like messing around. And then so people were like, what the heck? John can't fight. He can't fight, in 2 months, but he can wrestle around with, fool around with some people. And then Tom Aspinall, the current heavyweight champ, he posted on his Instagram story of him like booking flights from London to Vegas, and so during the week of UFC 300, so everyone was like, but that was what he did. He put the emoji, like that Easter Island head emoji, which is like the emoji everyone uses for Alex Pereira, the light heavyweight champion.
Sure.
Because he's got this.
I'll
like,
just nod
stone
politely,
face.
like any of this means something.
Should we do fighting words now?
Sure, Griffin. This definitely is a thing
because he's got that like really like stone look face. So that everyone's like, so maybe it'll be Alex Pereira will move up to heavyweight or something and fight Tom Aspinall. Which again,
it wouldn't be nothing, but
right? Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't get a casual, casual person who's gonna care. I mean, at this point, by the way, it won't surprise me one bit when this. Scandal in the WWE allows Dana White to say, we'll have Brock Lesnar come. It won't surprise me one bit when he says, he might have been involved in human trafficking. That's my guy. Come on over here. Save me. save me. I won't even be a tenth of an ounce surprised.
46. He would. What? So he'll fight it. He'll fight Tom Aspinall.
Didn't Frank Mir fight into his 40s? Didn't other guys?
Yeah. Plenty of guys have fought into their 40s.
I mean, 46 is pushing it.
Yeah, 40.
That's pushing it. I don't think he would fight Aspinall. I think they just
put him on the card.
It would just be the sake of having Brock Lesnar on the card.
Frank Mir. Yeah.
I mean, he's done it before. Didn't Frank Mir beat him, or did he beat Frank Mir? Right?
Did they fight twice?
Oh, maybe they fought twice.
They might have fought twice.
They might have fought twice.
No, I do want to know.
That was back when I still cared about the sport. That was back when it still interested me. And then, Dana White did everything in his power to make sure that didn't continue. It was like, oh, that thing where lots of people. I would rather just have this very small group of people. I would prefer that significantly.
Yeah, he lost to him first, and then he beat him again.
Yeah. Was one of them a title?
They both. Oh, the second one was.
Yeah,
the second one where he beat him.
That's what he was.
Yeah, his first UFC. His first UFC fight, his second MMA fight, was against Frank Mir.
Yeah, totally. And again, that wasn't the moment where I said to myself, maybe this isn't legitimate. But he did win, and he won the belt, right? So I can't. It's a whole thing. All right.
Yeah, he did win the belt.
He did. Exactly. That happened. I can't. And, I don't know what to say about that.
He last fought in 2016 against Mark Hunt.
Oh, I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
When did he? Yeah. So he beat him, or it was overturned? Oh, he won a UD. He won a unanimous decision, and then it was overturned because
he was doing steroids.
He had clomiphene.
He was doing steroids. Let's be honest. Have you seen Brock Lesnar? He was doing steroids. For God's sakes.
Oh, we don't know what clomiphene is. Maybe it was medical.
Allegedly. Whatever you want to do in order to protect. I don't think we're going to get sued, but let's just.
Oh, my God.
He was probably
Oh, my
doing
God.
steroids.
You might be right, because they pulled him out to fight Mark Hunt for UFC 200.
Yeah. Griffin. This is Brock Lesnar showing up on a report about sex trafficking. Dana White was fapping over it. Like, Dana White was saying to himself, well, I have no scruples. Like, I have no morals, like a 1,000%. He was thinking to himself, this might save me. This might be my moment. And he doesn't care if Brock Lesnar's using steroids. My God. Like, he doesn't care. So what if they overturn the fight again? It's irrelevant. They just want to have him show up.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I hope. But I don't care either. Like, this is the
I wish I could say
the good news
without
for me
a shadow
is,
of a doubt. I wish I could say
the
it
good news
won't
for me
happen.
is doesn't affect me in any way. My life is good no matter what. All right, we got to take a break. We're 2 breaks behind.
Yeah, I guess we do.
Let's grab a break. When we come back in, I don't even know what we're doing. This is where we should have done the stupid NBA thing.
Yeah.
This is where we should have done that. I do have some other things I want to get to this morning. Today's show brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Griffin, what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel?
Sports and Social, the place to be to watch your favorite sports. If you're a big college basketball fan, their 100-foot media wall should be right up your alley because Live Casino and Hotel Maryland features an on-site FanDuel location, and it is, of course, the ultimate spot to watch your favorite games on that said 100-foot media wall. Order up your favorite game day bites, take a sip from the signature crushes and extensive beer selections, all just steps away from the FanDuel Sportsbook. So watch, wager, and win at Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's warm and dry outside and the schools are closed. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GLENCLARK23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GLENCLARK23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our very special annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Orioles manager Brandon Hyde as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and the Orioles as our Team of the Year, with Stan the Fan Charles and Glenn Clark sitting down with Hyde to discuss his role in creating the culture that defined the Orioles' magic season. Also inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2023. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Ravens, Terps, and O's at PressBoxOnline.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
Scratch Jorge Soler off the list of Orioles options overnight. He signed a 3-year deal with the San Francisco Giants, so no longer on the table as a potential pop bat if you think the Orioles could still use one of those. And as I brought
Would you have paid that much?
I don't remember what the number was.
It was $14 million a year. 43 years, $42 million.
Seem. I mean, like, how
So,
old? We did this. Jorge Soler is like, what, 33? Is that what we figured that out?
I thought he was 34.
34? I thought it was 33. Yeah, I probably would. I probably would have paid that amount. What?
31.
31.
Jeez.
Yep. I think I'm good with that number.
Bellinger's asking for what, like 19, 20 a year?
The real issue here is somebody's going to say, well, where are these at-bats coming from? Right? Like, where are you getting – like you want to add a pop bat, fine. But without trading any of these guys away, if you're just signing a free agent, you already have Santander. You already have Mountcastle. Somebody would say Ryan O'Hearn is the guy that can be the odd man out, but, like, he was a significant part of your team a year ago. You already have Ryan O'Hearn. You already have Kjerstad. Yeah, I don't know where those at-bats.
Happy birthday yesterday.
Oh, yesterday was Heston Kjerstad's birthday? Happy birthday, Heston Kjerstad. Austin Hayes in left field. And you got to find somewhere for Colton Cowser to get at-bats. So he might have to play some corner outfield as well. Ramon Arias is still on the team, although, again, I get it kind of goes into the do you care, but, like, it's what it is. You're going to want to find if he's going to be on the team, he's probably going to play. So the argument is all of these dudes, where would the at-bats come from for you to go out and sign a power bat? Now, my answer would be that's what you call a good problem to have. That's how you address that. You say...
It's called figure it out.
Yeah. Like, you have a manager, figure it out. And if the answer is, again, I can scratch a Ramon Arias off the list. I was a number one Ramon Arias fan. Everybody knows that about me until I looked at the advanced numbers and I said, wow, I'm stupid. So the first answer is I can scratch one guy off the list immediately. Love the guy. God bless him. See if you can't get a bag of balls for Ramon Arias, right? And if you can't, it's what it is. We'll survive.
He'll beat us when he's on the Rockies or something.
Probably will. Yeah. Probably will. And that'll suck.
But it's the Rockies.
But
so.
right. Yeah, it's way better that it's the Rockies than if it was a team we actually cared about. So that's the first way that I go about addressing that issue is I say, well, I've eliminated one. There's one less guy that I have to worry about finding at-bats for. The next way that I go about doing it, I guess Kyle Stowers would have to go into this conversation as well, although I feel like he's closer to the, unfortunately, kind of don't care. The next way I go about doing it is doing the thing that we had talked about with the previous ownership, which was at some point, it's okay to be coming and going. I'm trying to remember who wrote the piece this way. I think it was Kylie McDaniel's piece looking at the top farm systems at ESPN.com. Kylie McDaniel referenced the fact that the Orioles are number one, but they're clearly on the downswing. Because once Jackson Holliday graduates from the prospect lists, they'll still have some top prospects, but they might not be number one anymore. God, I want to pull up this piece from Kylie McDaniel because he gives valuations monetarily to each of the farm systems when he does oh man, it's gonna drive me nuts.
What happened?
No, I just want to find this to try to define. All right, yep, I got it. So Kylie McDaniel assigns the Orioles as having a $371 million farm system right now, which is the number one overall, with the number two being the Cubs. And the Cubs, this isn't where I fall. God, ESPN, man, they could really, with all due respect, they could really do this better. No offense. I want to find the piece that I was looking at last night, and I, of course, can't find that. But I want them to have like a page that I could, like a landing spot for all of Kylie McDaniel's work that I can go to.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking for, and they, of course, don't provide that for me. Farm system. Kylie McDaniel farm system rankings.
Okay.
Because I do like maybe this is it. Maybe this might be it. I might have found it. Yes. Okay, thank you. Last year, 2023, he had them number one, but he had the system ranked at $466 million last year. This year, he has it at $371 million. So it's a significant drop-off, despite the fact that it's still number one, and number one by like $50 million over the Cubs, who are number two. And I get it. Like, I don't know enough of what he does on his grading system to pretend like his monetary value is Bible. But I also know that Kylie McDaniel knows a little bit more, and I believe that this system exists, that I can at least give it some amount of value. So the Orioles' system is on the downturn. Understandably so. The guys that made it the number one system went to the major leagues. Jackson Holliday is about to join them. The next prospects on the list, according to Kylie McDaniel, were obviously Mayo and Basayo, though I think he had Mayo 2, Basayo 3, whereas other people have had Basayo 2, Mayo 3. Like I think Keith Law has Basayo 2, Mayo 3, but he has Mayo 2 and Basayo 3. And then after that,
he's got I have it.
Go ahead.
Kerstad 4, Kauser 5, Enrique Bradfield.
Those guys are both
6.
about to graduate too.
Yeah, those are and that's the top. That's the 6 in the top 100.
And then it's Bradfield all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
So the list starts getting thin. The point that I would make is at some point you're going to have to, and they already did this a little bit with the Burns deal, but you might have to use what you have at the major league level to fortify your minor league system. And if you're looking to upgrade with a power bat somewhere, then the answer might be it's time to trade Santander. It's time to trade Cedric Mullins. If you're committed to Colton Cowser, if you're committed to Heston Kjerstad. If you go out and sign, where would Bellinger play if you go sign Bellinger? And I don't think the Orioles will. Like, I'd make that abundantly clear. Is he?
I mean, he played center. He's
I
played
know,
center field.
I know,
yeah.
but is he still like? Is that still where he's best suited?
First base, like.
I don't know that he's.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of what else he's played besides center field when he's not been playing center field.
I mean, like you assume he can play the corners. Like
he played 59 games at first base last year.
Okay.
So, but
don't figure out second base and.
No, because you got Westburg's
I know.
going to play.
It's not gonna.
First base would be the answer. Although Mountcastle's become a good defensive
unless
first
you
baseman.
trade Santander.
But with Santander or Mountcastle, like that. Yeah. My point would be, if you're going to do this, then the answer is do both things. Sign someone and trade someone. Trade Mountcastle, but trade him for prospects. Trade him to a team that, and when you say prospects, it's not, you're not getting top prospects in a Mountcastle trade. You're getting guys. You're trying to say, I trust Mike Elias and his crew and their scouting, and I think they found something, and go find a live arm that might be your next Felix Bautista. Go find a live arm that could be your next Kyle Bradish. Go find the guy that could end up being you got to replenish the farm system now, because you're assuming the Orioles aren't going to be drafting as high that it'll just be slam dunks every time. Which, as we pointed out, Gunnar Henderson wasn't either. So it's not like you're writing off their ability to find players later on, but it's not as obvious. It's not as slam dunk anymore. So I would do both. I wouldn't say that like it's too crowded to go acquire a Bellinger. I'm not as enamored with J.D. Martinez as some people are. Like, I would have preferred Soler over Martinez, for what it's worth. I'm not opposed to Bellinger by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I'd go do it. I really would. I don't think I would commit to him as my center fielder unless you know there's some great trade to be made with Mullins, unless you know there's some team that overvalues Cedric Mullins. And I can't fathom how that would be the case, you know, given the injuries a season ago. I think Colton Cowser's probably your center fielder, but, you know, that still remains to be seen. If you want to go get Bellinger, go get Bellinger, and then solve the problem. Like, there being too many options, not enough at-bats, you don't worry about where the at-bats for Cody Bellinger are coming from. You worry about where the at-bats are coming from for these other guys, and then you figure out if perhaps these other guys aren't trade chips for you. And I acknowledge you're not getting back Gunnar Henderson's in return. You're not getting back Jackson Holliday's in return. But you got to fortify the system entirely. So it's not the end of the world to me if you're trading away. If you go get Cody Bellinger and you say, well, the cost of that is maybe we got to trade away Anthony Santander. The bummer is, well, the lineup is better from a power with both of those guys in the lineup. But the reality is, it's either that or you're giving up, you're waving the white flag on one of the younger kids. Like, you're waving the white flag on, we just don't think there's ever going to be a path forward for Heston Kjerstad. And if that's the case, you know, I would. You're not trading Heston Kjerstad for prospects. Heston Kjerstad's who you're trading for major league talent on a bad team. And I don't know, I don't. As we said before, you're not getting Emmanuel Clase for Heston Kjerstad. But Kjerstad and what else, I guess, is the
Kjerstad and what,
there.
like a Santander or?
By the way, I didn't even have Mayo on this list of guys that we're talking about. These corner infield, and so
if they do nothing, is it the end of the world? Like if
no,
nothing
it's not
happens,
the end of the world. It's not, and I would even say my issues are bullpen first, then power bat. Power bat to me was luxury. Power bat could still be an expiring contract in July if you just look up and say, boy, we could really use one more thumper in the middle of the order. I would love Cody Bellinger's a different argument, right? Cody Bellinger isn't just a power bat. Cody Bellinger is you're going and getting a baseball player when you go and get Cody Bellinger. Although he is also a lefty. Cody Bellinger, God, I'm gonna talk myself into Cody Bellinger being like risk it all, like throw everything at Cody Bellinger. Because he does seem. How old is Cody Bellinger?
He's younger. Like
yeah, I know, but is he 30?
For some reason I wanted to say he's not yet. Cody Bellinger is 28.
And what's the word on what he was looking for?
I thought it was 19, 20.
But for how many years?
Good question. I would assume like probably 3 or 4.
Oh, I would think that he would,
or like
like 5
completely.
I mean, I guess he could. If maybe he says, I still think I could get one more deal at 31. If he's only 28, Jesus, maybe he would be willing to do it because he thinks he can get one more deal at 31. But I would think that he would want something longer term, or else why wouldn't? If all he wanted was 3 years and $60 million bucks? Why would somebody have not signed Cody Bellinger by now? Like, come on. It's got to be because he's looking for a longer deal than that, right?
He declined he had a $25 million option for 2024 with the Cubs, and he declined that.
Okay, but that could just be in the interest of getting a long-term deal, which speaks again. If that's why I think he could be looking for a longer-term deal.
Right.
I don't know, but Cody Bellinger makes a whole lot of sense. I do understand that the Orioles have a lot of internal options they believe could solve this problem. And if they fully believe in both Heston Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo as being major league power bats, then they just don't think that it's the problem that you think that it is. I think that it is. Bullpen to me is that's the big thing. I keep feeling like I'm more concerned about it than everybody else is, and I can't figure if that's because I'm too concerned or everybody else isn't concerned enough. Like, I'm really getting the reminder that they won 31-run games a year ago. As I look at, like, the PECOTA projections, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I understand why we think it's unfair that the number would be 87. Like, that's an absurd thought process that the team's going to drop that much.
But I get it. Natural regression.
31. It's a little bit natural regression. It's 31-run wins because Felix Bautista was untouchable. Untouchable for the most part. Craig Kimbrell ain't untouchable. And it's a mix. Some people are nervous about Craig Kimbrell because you can't use him as much as you use Felix Bautista. I'm nervous about Craig Kimbrell because even when you use Craig Kimbrell, I'm not sure what he is at this point. So I acknowledge I am more concerned about the bullpen than I am about this. And I also think that I'm more concerned about the bullpen than the average person is. Like, I think the average person is like, well, they'll figure it out. I hear you, and they might. As we bring up, could Dylan Tate regain... If Dylan Tate, by the way, regained his 2022 form, there's an argument that he would be the better option to be the closer. I mean, they signed Craig Kimbrell, so he's going to be the closer. But remember, when they signed him, I was like, okay, but what are you doing about closer? Like, I didn't like the idea of Craig Kimbrell just being the guy. It seemed like the thing you did because you don't want it to be awkward with Felix Bautista the following year. Like, this is definitely, here's our closer just for this year. I would be more inclined to find one of these live arms and tell him, you get to be the closer, and then we'll figure it out a year from now. Again,
phrase of the day.
The good problem to have. Too many players. You can't find a bats for all of them. Good problem. You know what's a real problem? Not having one. That's a real problem. This is a make-believe problem. Well, there's too many. What? Well, it's going to be awkward because we're going to have, if Dylan Tate was the closer and was awesome this year, then you'd have a closer problem. No, you wouldn't.
You'd be winning baseball games.
You'd have the opposite of that the following year. You'd have 2 closers, which is 2 more than some teams will have. These aren't real problems. These are problems we make up in our mind. Well, there's too many good players. There's too many guys you want to get at bats for. Okay? I pray that's the case. I pray it to be true. That ain't the reason why I wouldn't go get Cody Bellinger. JD Martinez, I could make more of an argument for.
So the one report I was able to find, Mark Feinsand back in December said that he thinks Bellinger's looking for like a $200 million contract. So however long that would be, and
I mean that smells like 8 years, $25 million per.
Right.
That's what that smells like.
So if that's the case, like the Orioles aren't gonna do that.
Well, you say that. We have no idea.
We would rather have Gunnar, Adley.
I agree with that.
Holiday.
Is the question, can they do all of that? We don't know. We have no idea.
I still think it's unlikely.
Sure. I'm fine with saying it's unlikely.
To me, I think the only scenario where Bellinger.
Also, keep in mind, they might already have answers. This is the part we don't want to talk about. If they've already approached Adley Rutschman's, if David Rubenstein, taking over, said, tell me what the reality is on doing an extension with Adley Rutschman. And they went to Adley Rutschman's camp, and Rutschman said, no, we're a year away from arbitration. We already got money when we signed. We don't need to do this. We're not signing. That's the part that nobody can say out loud. Nobody wants to say, because then it creates friction between you and the players that are on your team that you're trying to go win with. Nobody wants to say, guys, they said flat out no to us. I was even surprised, frankly, in the one interview that Corbin Burns did, that he was as direct as he was. Normally, players don't want to do that either. He apparently had said it before. So he was like, I don't feel like I'm saying anything I haven't said before. Normally, players would be like, yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be interested in sticking. Just because it's the right thing to say. You don't want to go somewhere and be like, hey, yeah, I'm here, but I'm here for a good time, not for a long time. You don't want to create that awkwardness. I appreciated the honesty that Corbin Burns gave, but it's also plausible while you say, well, I wouldn't want them to spend that money because I would rather them spend it on the guys that you have. Totally understood. The problem being, what if you can't? And we don't want to think about that. We don't like that. But what if they've already approached Scott Boras, after they called him to say, hey, you're trading for your guy. Hey, by the way, have you change your mind about Gunnar and Jackson Holiday? And he was like, nah, Chief. I want him to get to the open market. You got to pay him $500 million or else we're not signing. And then the Orioles said, well, if we can't spend the money there, spend it on someone else.
And it's still going to be tough for me to be excited about a $200 million Bellinger contract because then that's going to make me think, then it seems that much more less likely that Gunnar.
I completely understand. This part of this is we just don't have any answers yet on what David Rubenstein is going to be as an owner, and he can't talk until it's official. Mm-hmm. And even when he does, he'll probably be measured. He's not going to come out and say, I'm going to spend $1 billion on baseball players today. Like, he's not going to do that.
Could.
It'd be awesome.
You literally could.
It'd be awesome. Yeah, right.
Which is weird.
Spend $1 billion and be like, and yep, I got lots more. Everything's fine here. Nothing to worry about.
I feel like the only way, unless he's like he wants to chase a title, and there's no long-term market out there for Cody Bellinger, so he signs like a 25, 26, 27 million 1-year contract with the Orioles, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's. Look, I don't think it's likely no matter what. I would think if we're days away from spring training starting. If that's where the market was, I feel like he probably would have gone ahead and taken that deal from somebody today. I really am in a weird place because it's one of those we don't know as much as we want to know. How would I react to the Orioles signing Cody Bellinger? I don't think I'd react the way that you would. I think if they signed Cody Bellinger 8 years, $200 million, they said giddy up, like let's go. I would worry about those other things when you worry about them. Again, you'd want to know those answers. Did you do that because you tried to sign the other guys and they weren't interested?
Said no, yeah.
Well, then try to maximize the years that you have this nucleus together. It was funny because I don't know what the context was, but somebody brought up to me remember they were at the time the Indians, now the Guardians, were a game away from winning the World Series. If I remember right, had a lead late against the Cubs, and we all know it went to extra innings in Game 7. But if I remember right, had a lead. Like they were this close to winning the World Series. What was the nucleus of that team?
Lindor,
right?
Yeah.
Keep going.
I mean, Rajay Davis was on that team.
But that certainly, I don't think it counted as the nucleus.
Corey Kluber and
the pitching obviously was significant on that team. But go back, look at the 2016 Cleveland Guardians. This is now 8 years ago, to be fair, right? Like, it is. We are getting distance on this. But it was.
Was Jose Ramirez on that team?
I believe he was. Yeah, Jose Ramirez was on that team. Lindor Kipnis was part of the nucleus of that team, right?
I feel like he was an Oriole killer.
He was. Carlos Santana was part of the nucleus of that team. And then, as you brought up, the pitching, Kluber, Bauer, Carrasco, Josh Tomlin. Pitching was part of the nucleus of that team. But at the time, you came up one game short of winning the World Series. And I'm going to guess that in Cleveland...
Tommy Hunter was on that team?
I didn't remember that. I'm going to guess that in Cleveland, they felt like the window was only opening, right? Like, that they felt the same way. We talk about it with the Cubs all the time. The Cubs, we thought, were early when they won the World Series. As it turns out, it was their best chance. That was the comparison we made to the Orioles a year ago. Like, in hindsight, you might look and say this was the best chance. In Cleveland, they didn't get to win one. And they absolutely had to feel like this was the start of something. Well, it's gone nowhere in the 8 years since. They haven't lost all of that, but they've lost the majority of that. Is there anybody still left besides Ramirez?
No, not really. By the way, Tommy Hunter started with Cleveland. He ended the season with the Orioles that year. Just wanted to make sure I cleared that up.
That's right, because he showed up for a day, and then he was back doing the beer celebration, holding 100 beers again. I do.
Carlos Carrasco is still, or no, he's with the Mets now, or at least he was. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. Right, Jose Ramirez is it. So it's a reminder of these windows might be small. So if the answer from David Rubenstein is, let's make sure we don't screw this up, then the answer might be, we're looking at this as we have a 3-year window. If we can't sign Adley, in 3 years, we got to start making tough decisions. So if, in order to maximize that 3-year window, Cody Bellinger is willing to take your $190 million, whatever it is, go do it. Like, this is... we all want to believe that the Orioles are going to be good for the next decade and a half, but let's not kid ourselves. The Astros are kind of the anomaly here. Most of these teams that do these things, they get a 5-year run out of it. The Astros look like they're set up for this to be a decade-ish of them capitalizing on what they did. Now, there have been, like, they had to part ways with guys in that process, but they continued to have more to bring in, and they were able to sign some of those guys. Like Jose Altuve was the guy that they were able to nail down as the centerpiece. But Correa had to go.
And they still got a hit on their, like these guys coming up like Valdez and Luis Garcia,
right.
and
like 100%. But the Astros are
Jerry
the one
Pena,
team that look like they've been able to sustain after the Cubs weren't. They were not able. Yeah, they paid Bregman too. So it wasn't just Altuve. Altuve and Bregman were the ones. The Cubs weren't able to sustain it. The Guardians weren't able to sustain it. The Phillies, you would say, but it required them signing Bryce Harper, right? Like, if they hadn't signed Bryce Harper, would we say the Phillies had sustained it?
No, they got Trey Turner.
Yeah, I mean, they went out and spent big money. It's not really about the rebuild necessarily anymore in Philadelphia. Now it's about, acting like a big market club. Like they're post-rebuild any longer. I mean, Rhys Hoskins is gone. I don't know that you get, when you do these, I don't know that the window is a decade typically. I would argue it's not. The decade, if everything works out and if you're able to sign some players, and I'm all for it. And again, I don't know how much David Rubenstein has been able to dive in and revisit these conversations just yet.
The window more realistically like the 12 to 16 Orioles?
If I had to guess. I mean, if I had to. Again, some of that is based on your ability to sign these core group of guys. And I don't know. I don't know what their signability is. Even if you could sign one of them it would probably go a long way to extending it past 5 years. But I would be trying to capitalize on the now. Like, everything's in front of you now. I would be trying to capitalize that on that immediately. And then let them figure out if they can sign these guys. The first thing I would try to do is do the best thing you can to win a World Series. That would be my priority number one. Because if you win a World Series and these guys don't sign and move on elsewhere, you'll live. I'm sure the Cubs fans would have loved to have kept Chris Bryant around for longer, right? They got a World Series. Which one would you rather have, a World Series or Chris Bryant around for a long time?
Yeah.
Come on. So that would be the first priority I would have. As much as we all say the first thing you should do is plant your flag and sign one of these guys, hear you. And given the difficulty of winning, like signing Cody Bellinger does not guarantee you winning a World Series. So that's the difficult part about this. But in general, I would try to do everything I can to win a World Series. Figure out if you can sign these guys. And I would like to have already had a feel on that once I decided to take the team over. Like I would have liked to have said, hey, what's the reality of those circumstances? Because if any of them were, I'd love to be here, the last ownership group just hadn't made me an offer, well, then let's go ahead and get that squared away today. Let's wait 0 more days. Now, maybe David Rubenstein says, let's wait until the day after I take over so that I can be part of it and I can stand up there at the dais and, shake hands. But let's get that squared away. If that was the problem, was just that the last ownership group wasn't making the offer, let's figure that out. But if the problem was the signability of these guys, then maximize the time you have. And nobody wants to talk about it that way because we all want to believe that, just sign these guys. Well, it's not that simple. We want it to be that simple. It's not that simple. So if it can't be done, just don't screw it up the way you did the last time. Maximize it. Corbin Burns, it's a good way to go about maximizing something, but it's 1 year. Spending money on a player, you don't have to give anything up, keep him around for longer than 1 year. It's another good way to go about maximizing something. All right, when we come back in, we'll get a tidbit and we'll get Tubular to wind down a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Last few days, you get this print issue of Press Box. It is the best of issue. It's available at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. And you can read it all, pressboxonline.com/bestof. I saw a couple things. One, it's official. Pearl Jam's coming back to Baltimore. There's been rumors about that. It was supposed to happen. I think the pandemic postponed it, and then the arena construction postponed it. I went with Brian Powell to see Pearl Jam at the arena the last time they were there, and I can't even remember what year that would have been. I don't know where I was working at the time. It was a long time ago at this point. But, yeah, Pearl Jam coming back to Baltimore. In September, they'll be playing downtown. Also, a U.S. soccer match coming to FedEx Field. I believe it's a friendly on June 8th against Colombia. I love U.S. soccer, but asking me to go to FedEx Field is... That's the thing. If they were playing it at, like, the soccer stadium in D.C., I might be like, yeah, I'm down for that, although it would be harder to get a ticket. I went to a World Cup qualifier once at RFK.
Dang,
This is how effed up this is.
When did RFK stop?
I'd rather go to RFK than FedEx Field. I'd rather go to RFK today. I think they're tearing it down. I think they already started ripping it down at this point.
When did they stop playing games there? Like, just anything?
Well, I was doing United games until 16, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
I think it was when I stopped doing United games. I did, like, 3 years of just being the fill-in. I wasn't the... Like, whenever Pete and Joe were off doing Navy football, they were like, hey, man. So when did it was the new stadium opened right before the pandemic, right? I think the new stadium opened 2019, maybe 2020. I don't know. The DC United played there until 17. All right, so they played there until 17. That was the last. But when would I have seen when was the U.S. Hang on, U.S. Soccer World Cup qualifying? This might have been 09. Qualifying RFK Stadium. And I believe
qualify.
I believe the bummer was that they had already qualified the match before, and it was the last match of qualifying, and so there was nothing really. So the stadium was like largely empty because they had already qualified, and it ended up being a hell of a match. And like the U.S. scored in like the 90-something minute. It's gonna drive me nuts. It's gonna drive me crazy. Honduras, maybe? Was that what it was? Nope. Whatever. I tried. Somewhere around 09 or so would have been when I...
All right.
I definitely went to a qualifier.
Wikipedia is great. September, no. It's not listed here. I don't see it listed here.
September sounds right, though, by the way. It was.
No, well, it was an MLS game.
Fall. It was definitely in the fall. Hang
Unless
on. I got nothing. It wasn't. That was the game in 01.
Gold Cup in 11. No.
World Cup qualifiers. No, it wasn't a Gold Cup. It was a qualifier. I just think they had already qualified.
Oh, they hosted the MLS All-Star game in 04.
Who cares? You're not helping me.
I can't find it.
God damn it, Griffin.
I don't think you went.
I definitely was there. Only time I think I've ever been to a World Cup qualifier, if I remember correctly. Why is it not coming up with this? Thanks a lot, Wikipedia.
Let's see.
Thanks for nothing. I'm trying to get to soccer. Soccer. Here we go. I'm in soccer. 2000. Advance me forward. 2000. No. They apparently don't remember it either.
All right, let's see.
I got nothing.
Let's see who.
I got nothing.
See if I can pull up the 2009
Whatever.
in a
I saw
soccer.
it there. But I don't know it was 09. It could have been 10. I think it was... When was the World... Okay, hang on. We could do this math. What year was the World Cup?
2010.
So then it would have had to have been in 2009, right?
Yeah, that would make sense.
World Cup qualifying. USMNT.
2009
in American soccer. Pretty good, right? We're getting this.
That's what I'm looking at too.
We're getting Washington D.C.
Yeah,
Costa
October.
Rica, October 14th.
But where?
Bam! At RFK Stadium.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
You were one of 26,243.
I'm telling you, they had already qualified, so it didn't matter anymore.
It was a thriller.
And they got a late goal. I don't remember
U.S.
exactly.
scored a late goal.
Well,
yeah, you're right.
It was in
In
the
the fifth.
95th minute. I almost nailed this. We took the old radio station did a bus trip to that game. And it was the only qualifier I've ever been to, and I was bummed. I was really bummed that it didn't matter. Like, that part was a huge bummer. I mean, I was relieved because you didn't really...
You weren't stressed out.
Right, 100%. But it was still awesome. It was still super cool, but it would have been cooler if there were 50,000 people there because it mattered. Like, that would have been cool. Still, good time. But, yes, the U.S. will play indeed. That was a really long way of me saying the U.S. is going to play at FedEx Field.
It was a really long way of saying Pearl Jam is back.
Well, it started with that, and then it went to the FedEx Field thing. And asking me to go to FedEx Field for anything is
like asking you to
bridge too far. It's
build a house.
It's awful. It is such an awful experience. It is, I mean, hell. I'm trying to think of what it would take for me to go to like if the World Cup was at FedEx Field, if the U.S. was playing Italy in a World Cup final, maybe.
How much are those tickets going to go for?
$1 billion.
Only if they play Italy.
Well, because I love Italy.
Oh.
It would actually be
Why?
very conflicting. My family's Italian.
Okay.
So I would be very conflicted by... I wouldn't be. I would be rooting for the U.S., obviously, but... That's difficult. Yeah, I'd like to go. I'd love to go to a U.S. match, but I don't think I'm going to... It's FedEx Field. God, why couldn't they play that in Baltimore? Get a Terry Hasseltine on the phone. Why couldn't they have pushed that to Baltimore? Gross. All right. Tidbit is brought to you today by Superbook. I don't think that we have any soccer bets that we can make with Superbook just right. Yeah, right.
Champions League today?
Oh yeah, there is Champions League action today. I don't care.
Yeah, I know. We can't really give any educated.
Yeah, have
picks out here.
no thoughts whatsoever. I also don't know because they have it listed.
Leipzig and Real Madrid.
Yeah,
that should be a good one.
Yeah, it should. Leipzig. For some reason, the Champions League bets are locked. Don't know what that's all about.
City plays Copenhagen.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I think they win that one.
I got nothing.
It's only -400.
But it's not available on Superbook.
It's not available. Oh, okay.
Would you stop?
When it unlocks.
You got to learn to stop giving other odds. We are Superbook. That's what we do.
Right.
If it's not on Superbook,
I was just kidding. That was my estimation.
It doesn't exist.
That was my estimation.
Doesn't exist if it's not on Superbook. So I mentioned before, Capitals. That number's come down. Maybe they heard me say it was too big. Number's down to 6. It's not 6.5 anymore. So now I'm all over it. Gotta hit the over. I have no thoughts whatsoever. I cannot pretend like I know anything about that. You know who's favored to win the NBA title right now? Who do you think
Not the
favorite
Nuggets?
is? It's not the Nuggets.
Not the Clippers?
Not the Clippers.
So it's got to be the
And with a little bit of
Celtics?
separation, the Boston Celtics plus 275, followed by the Clippers and Nuggets at plus 450, the Bucks at 6-1, the Suns at 16-1, the Thunder 18-1. So you want some of that action, go to Superbook.com.
We know it'll be the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals.
They do have a way. Superbook.com, download the Superbook app, use the code GlennClark23. When you sign up, you'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, from Superbook.
So this one I liked. Mecole Hardman, he became only the second player in NFL history to play for the Jets and score a touchdown in the Super Bowl in the same season.
Who was the other one?
The other one would be Matt Snell.
Oh, sure.
Of the old New York Jets.
Could have gotten that. Blake's dad.
Yeah. No,
I
don't think so.
I don't think so.
Christian McCaffrey, he became the first ever player to have 75 rushing and receiving yards, 75 of each in the Super Bowl. It was also his
Sure.
I had it. His eighth career game of 75 and 75. I want to see if you can name all the guys that have had 5 such games.
75.
Yes, there are 6 more. After McCaffrey.
Marshall Faulk.
Marshall Faulk.
Wow.
would be number 1 on the list.
Yeah, I mean, it's always Marshall Faulk. LaDainian Tomlinson.
Daniel Tomlinson not on this list. He's
That
just
is-
outside. There's several guys with 4. He has 4.
That's very surprising. Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell only had 4.
Okay. Chris Johnson.
Not Chris Johnson.
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Not MJD.
Brian Westbrook.
Not Brian Westbrook.
This is going well.
Yeah, they're all a little older. Not that much older, but
These guys I should know.
I thought so.
Barry Sanders.
Not Barry.
He wasn't really a pass catcher. Walter Payton.
Walter Payton had 6 such games. All right, maybe we'll just do like all the guys with 6 or more. There's one more in the top 4 here.
One more in the top 4.
Yes.
Sean Alexander.
Not Sean Alexander.
Jamal Charles.
Not Jamal Charles.
Warwick Dunn.
Not Warwick Dunn.
Edgerrin James.
Edgerrin James, only 4.
Fred Taylor.
Fred Taylor, 4 as well.
FC.
I guess I should have just named all the guys with exactly 4.
Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara not in this one.
Austin Eckler.
3 for Kamara. Not Eckler.
Okay.
I'm ready for a hint.
Go ahead.
He was a former Raven.
Oh, Priest.
Priest Holmes. Priest Holmes had 9. Falk, Holmes, McCaffrey, Payton. Guys with 5. Ricky Waters.
Might have been able to get Ricky.
Roger
Waters.
Craig.
Okay, Roger Craig makes sense.
Chuck Foreman.
I wasn't going to get Chuck
And
Foreman.
there's one Raven that had 4.
There's another Raven that had. Oh, Ray Rice.
Ray Rice, yes.
All right, very good. At trivia last night, the one was. This is the annoying part when you're the sports person. Name the 3 guys that were just elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Ooh. Did you get it?
Yes, of course I got
Adrian
it.
Beltre.
Griffin. Yes.
Oh, Maurer.
Yes.
Big Todd Helton.
Yes, correct. Those are the 3. This Hall of Fame shortstop was known as the Flying Dutchman.
Ooh.
In fairness, I didn't remember it first. It took me a second.
Oh, man. The Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
I guess I should know it.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great nickname.
You don't know?
I don't think I do. Is there any way with a hint I'd be able to get it, or?
It was the same name as a composer who composed the piece, The Flying Dutchman.
I don't know. I don't know who composed that. So,
Yeah.
Beethoven.
No, it's
the shortstop Beethoven.
Wagner, and it was Honus Wagner. Same
okay.
name.
That's a good nickname for him.
And then I was reminded, we didn't get it in trivia last night, but I like this question. College that produced both a Super Bowl winning quarterback and a president. Somebody posted that on Facebook last week, and I really liked that one. I think it was 4. It's 5. 5 colleges have produced both a Super Bowl winning quarterback and a United States president.
I don't know where any of the presidents went to. They're asking for the school?
Yes.
Stanford.
Stanford produced both Herbert Hoover as well as John Elway and Jim Plunkett.
Okay. Where would these guys go to? Let's go with Alabama.
What president do you think went to the University
I
of
don't know.
Alabama?
A lot of guys.
No chance.
Maybe Florida.
No chance. No, you are thinking really low on your rungs of institutions. You started off hot.
They're all
with
really.
Stanford.
They're all really Maryland. Yeah, I know. I started off that. Stanford.
Although in
Stanford's
fairness,
Notre Dame.
some of
Notre
these,
Dame.
I gotta be honest with you. Actually, Notre Dame's a good guess. Apparently never produced a president. Although there haven't been a ton of Catholic presidents, so I guess that's not that surprising.
Let's go.
One
with
of them should be very
UCLA.
One of them should be overwhelmingly obvious.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
overwhelmingly. Overwhelmingly.
Texas. USC.
No.
Arizona. No, I guess not Arizona.
Not
Not
going
Arizona.
well.
No,
Not
scratch
going
that one.
well.
Scratch that one.
Not going well.
Boston College.
What are we just throwing out names of colleges at this point? What are you basing this off of?
Are
you considering what like base it off some information you have? Like who won the last Super Bowl?
Michigan.
Michigan's a great guess. Yes,
Michigan's,
Tom Brady
okay.
and Gerald Ford.
All right,
of course,
good.
who played football at the University of
Good.
Michigan.
How about then Texas Tech?
I was at least hoping that you would start guessing schools that you knew had produced Super Bowl champions. No, Texas Tech certainly has not produced a president, but at least you're getting somewhere with schools that have definitively produced one or the other.
Cal.
No. Obviously Aaron Rodgers, but
yeah.
Yes.
Let's see here. Purdue.
Nope. Yeah, Drew Brees, I get it.
Yeah.
Again, you're getting there. You're at least.
Where else do we want to go with this? Delaware.
Thank you. I don't know why this took so long.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Holy
that one's pretty
F.
obvious. You're right.
That
Delaware.
was the one.
Yeah, that is a good one. So Delaware, Michigan.
You got Delaware, Michigan, and Stanford. Another one, I would say should be obvious, but
Nothing's obvious with me.
Well, clearly. You figured out Delaware because of the local connection. I would tell you there's another local connection, but you really got to think about that. There's another local connection.
Miami?
Technically, yes. Which Miami?
Ohio.
Miami of Ohio. That's not the local connection, obviously. Miami of Ohio produced.
Yeah, who went?
Both Ben Roethlisberger,
Okay.
of course, and I actually don't remember which Harrison. I just saw Harrison. I don't know if it's William Henry or Benjamin Harrison.
How many schools? You said there's 4 or 5.
There's a fifth one.
Oh.
There's a local connection to the fifth one. Strong local connection. Strong local connection. Strong.
I know. What am I missing here?
Local connection. Really hard to be stronger.
They won a Super Bowl.
President and a Super Bowl. Almost impossible to be stronger.
Give me a second here.
Oh God.
So we're talking about like Trent Dilfer?
No, not talking about Trent Dilfer.
Well, where did he go to school?
Oh God. I can't. You're not.
Louisville?
Nope, not
Kentucky?
Louisville. Yes, John Unitas did not. You're right about Louisville. He went to Louisville, but did not.
Oh.
So bad.
I guess it is. So what am I missing? I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing.
Well, this school produced a president in Jimmy Carter and a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Roger Staubach, because the answer is the closest college football program to where you're sitting.
Towson had a...
No! The Naval Academy, you idiots!
Oh, Navy. Okay. Yeah, that one.
Strong local connection.
Yeah, Navy.
Strong.
Navy. I said it.
God, that was painful. That was painful. All right.
You want to come out next week, you said?
What? Yeah. Yeah. I could really use you on Mondays. Although, in fairness, my cousin's son's been coming with us and, never knows anything. And then randomly last night, there was a question about, what Egyptian god? And he was like, it's a crocodile. And I, looked at him like, what?
It was right?
Yes.
Nice.
He knew it. It was very helpful. Very, very helpful. We didn't get the final, though. The final was, I don't remember, something. Whose work? Portrait of a peasant woman.
Van Gogh.
That's correct.
Knew it.
That was my guess, by the way. But I didn't know it. So, everybody's like, who do you think it is? And the first person was like, I bet it's Da Vinci. And I was like, I think it's Van Gogh. But just guessing. And
you guys went with Van Gogh?
It was Van Gogh. The clue was apparently 2 years ago it was discovered that he had a self-portrait on the back of it.
Huh.
Never heard that. So
quirky and talented him.
Yeah, right. What a guy. What a guy. We also really, the disappointing part was what were the top 4 most streamed Toby Keith songs on Spotify? We went 1 for 4. We went 1 for 4 on that one.
Red Solo Cup. No.
That was one of our guesses.
Oh, okay.
And it was not. It was incorrect.
Darn.
Yeah. We were really disappointed. I mean, I wrote out 10 Toby Keith songs, which one? How did I know that many Toby Keith songs? That was
Red Solo Cup might be the only one I can.
We got the number one. Number one should have been a Cowboy.
Oh, yes.
Got that one. I think we went with How Do You Like Me Now was on our list. That's number 5. Was the other one. We should have been a Cowboy. We went with Red Solo Cup. We went with How Do You Like Me Now. I can't remember what the other one was.
You just look up what they are. And
well, I know the other ones are Beer for My Horses, which was definitely one we discussed, and As Good as I Once Was, which we didn't discuss, oddly. Like, we didn't even bring that up. Oh, I Love This Bar was the other one that we had on our list, and that did not make the top 4. So that hurt us. That round hurt us. Please, come on out and join us Monday night.
What else with the Van Gogh one? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, because you didn't know it either. You would have just been spitballing the same way I was.
I don't waffle. I don't waffle.
I had no conviction. I said Van Gogh, but I had no conviction.
Well, that's why we would have gotten it, because I would have been like, oh,
yes. Back me up?
Of course.
There you go.
Well, you would have backed me up because I would have said it first.
Tubular brought to you by Goose Flights. Goose Flights Lager available wherever, not wherever, but where are lots of locations around town. Cans available at Alonzo's on Cold Spring Lane. Also at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton. Cans available at all of the state's Glory Days Grill locations. Cans and 6-packs at both Guilford Hall Brewery and Station North, as well as Costa Sin and Dundalk. 6-packs and cases at the Wine Source in Hamden. $1.98 from every can sold goes to the Goose Flights Foundation, the work they're doing to provide non-emergency medical transport for those in need. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/gooseflights. Nothing. It stinks tonight.
College basketball.
Stinks. Big Ten hoops on Peacock. Michigan, Illinois at 7. Ohio State, Wisconsin at 9.
Late night Mountain West, right?
New Mexico, Nevada. That's what's getting you. That's what's getting your gander today. That's at 11 o'clock
Bingo.
on CBS Sports Network.
Oh yeah,
it's weak.
Take a nap. And
Monumental Avalanche Capitals at 7 o'clock. TNT Thunder Magic 7:30. Kings Suns at 10. Maybe I'll spend some time with my sons this evening. Not my actual sons. They don't get me. As Griffin mentioned, Champions League this afternoon on Paramount Plus. RB Leipzig and Real Madrid, and Copenhagen, Man City, both at 3. USA Network tonight for WWE NXT at 8. Non-sports?
Nope. Amy Schumer, Towson alum, be on Fallon.
Great.
And that's it. Taylor Tomlinson has a comedy special on Netflix.
She's doing the new show
after
on
midnight,
CBS.
yes.
After midnight. I actually have seen some of her clips. She's funny. I like.
Oh,
her.
Kenny the Jet will be on Kimmel.
Why would anybody care about that? Iron Claw goes to video on demand today. Maybe I'll.
Oh, really?
I need to.
Okay.
It slipped me.
Yeah, do that. I would do that.
What it is. All right. Thanks today.
Right now, actually. Can we watch it now?
No. Thanks to Matt Swope. Thanks also to Patrick Stevens, Wes Brown. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow,
Tony Pauline will.
We'll do our first NFL draft segment of the year with our buddy Tony Pauline. Paul Rabel's going to check in tomorrow. They've got the big event coming up down in D.C. And
talk about what's wrong with this country. I think.
Is Drew coming in?
Yeah. Unless I guess we can arrange it for.
Got to see a lot of Drew over the course of next week.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Mother's North Grill, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, Superbook Sports, Hartford County, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Hey, we got a lot of feedback. Oh, and Glory Days Grill. Got a lot of feedback about Ken Burns yesterday. That was fun for me, too. Thank you all for that was neat. That was really neat. I greatly enjoyed that. So thank you for the feedback that you gave me about that.
Good job, as well. I enjoyed it as well.
I was brilliant, obviously. I was incredible.
I had to make sure that we could hear him.
You know what? That's a good point. Couldn't have done it without you. Well, could have, but wouldn't have wanted to. So,
you're welcome.
Got that going.
Yeah, you're welcome. I get it.
Got that going. I was about to give you credit for booking him. I was like, no, I booked him. You don't get anything. All right. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. And have a great Tuesday night. Go nobody. Duke sucks.